Well, welcome to round number 4 of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series here at Morgan Park Raceway. Yes, we're 2 hours west of Brisbane. It's a little bit chilly this morning, Steve, but what a fantastic morning. The sun is out and we are going racing.
Well, where else would you want to be but Queensland, really, particularly for somebody like me that's from a southern state. But fantastic event we've got prepared for us today, and 7 great categories, strong categories, and obviously headlined by our TA2.
Mate, we've got over 130 races here this weekend. It's an absolutely packed fields as well. Of course, the TA2 muscle cars headlining that frame by Hi-Tec Steel Framing. They put on some entertaining racing yesterday. It's day number 3 of competition. The Australian Trans Ams are already out on track, and we can't wait to get underway with all the action and bring you everything this weekend.
So we are into the first race of Sunday here at Morgan Park Raceway, and leading them away, it is the Australian Trans Am Championship. Some absolutely fabulous cars. I'm Jamie McCarthy, part of the commentary team, bringing you all of the action from Morgan Park this weekend with round 4 of the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series. Down underneath the bridge, off turn number 3, John English is your race leader in the number 11 Firebird, running in the 6-litre class, chased by his son Sean in the number 10 5-litre Ford Mustang, and pretty much that's been the story of the weekend so far. Over qualifying in the first 2 races here on the Saturday, a little bit of a break lock up there for John English. English dominating, topping qualifying, also winning races 1 and 2, and his son Sean was pretty much on his back bumper over the entire qualifying in 2 races so far this weekend. So beautiful sunny conditions here this morning. It's a little bit on the cool side. Yesterday in qualifying we sort of saw lap times in the 125s at the moment. John English down in the 126s, so definitely very, very cool. All of these cars running on the Hoosier tyre. And as I said, running across 2 classes, the 5-litre and 6-litre classes. Tricia Chand, and not in this group at the moment, she actually pitted on the opening lap. I understand she is back out on track, and just trying to see where Alwyn Bishop is, who dominated at Queensland Raceway at the previous round of the championship. This wonderful overhead shot from the drone. It's funny, a lot of people say this track's relatively small at 2.9 kilometres, but it is spread over a lot of the property, and for me, I think it's on the bigger side of a race circuit. Put a TA2 car on it, it's probably a little bit smaller than, say, a production car, but it's a challenging circuit, lots of elevation changes, and some very, very tricky and critical corners which can help make the lap or break the lap, especially on the run through turns 1 and into 2, which sets up the first half of the lap. So we have 3 sector splits here at the racetrack. It's John Prefontaine in the number 21 Mustang running in the 3rd position ahead of Mark Spencer in the number 44. That's a 6-litre car, beautifully presented car, as is the number 21 of John Prefontaine. Prefontaine already with a couple of 3rd place finishes. Spencer just sneaked up the inside, looking to get that pass made through turn 8, and does get that pass into the 3rd position. So Spencer's been going forward all weekend, and now the chase starts for the 2 English boys. Can Spencer get to them? Prefontaine in the Well Pro Mustang, normally driven by this dad Ron. John's been doing a very, very good job in the car, as is Sean English in this car. Watching this car yesterday from the commentary position in the tower, right over the top of turn 3, and you can see all of the wheel work especially going on in the cockpit of these cars, and there's a fair amount going on to keep them on the terra firma and off the grass. Sean English using a fair bit of racetrack off the exit there with a little bit of exit oversteer off turn number 2. It sets up the run through 3 underneath the bridge, and they drop down the hill to turn number 4, and then the sequence over the backside of the circuit. So turn 4's a lot tighter than it looks. And you've got the run through 5 on the run through to 6. This is turn 6 here now. Quite a sharp right-hander, and there's a great view of that corner. John English works his way off turn number 6 through to 7. 12 corners here on this layout at Morgan Park. And there's various track layouts here at the circuit. This is the K layout, which is 2.96 kilometres. And joining me in commentary, I'll wait for him to get his breath back.
After
the long journey from pit lane, Matty Kavanagh. Welcome, Matt.
I had to run up here, Jamie, but how exciting is Trans Am back out on track? And you're right, the father-son combination at the front, they really put a display of driving on, and weren't they so close, within hundredths of a second over the finish line in that first race. So wait and see what they put on for us today, but they're back out on track. Gorgeous looking cars. And you did say about Morgan Park, we sort of think of it as a small track. There's a lot of bitumen out there, though. It is a flowing track. We've got 12 turns to get around. I suppose look at some of our other tracks that might be the same distance, but only 8 or 9 corners. So a little bit extra work.
It's a very different circuit to Queensland Raceway, where the series was at previous rounds. And look, Alwyn Bishop dominated with 4 wins out of 5 starts. Alwyn's actually not in the picture here and not showing on the lap scoring. So Alwyn must have had a problem in the opening lap as well, because I saw Trisha Chan actually peeled off into pit lane before the race start, as Spencer has a lock-up that opens up the door for Prefontaine. That battle for the 3rd position, again back to 1st and 2nd, John English. The very experienced John English has raced over many, many years in so many different categories. Sports sedans, touring cars. He actually sold this car a few years ago and retired, inverted commas, from the sport after a very distinguished career, and then had the opportunity to buy the car back, so he did. And I think just completes the old adage, a motor racing driver never can retire.
Yeah, do you ever retire as a motor racer? No, you don't. Like, as a driver, you can never retire. You just maybe change vehicles, you sell them, they come back into your life. But here they are out on track. Great to see him with John Prefontaine, though. He was 3rd in both races yesterday. He's been pretty good there. Mark Spencer's started to challenge him a little bit more, and such a shame to see Alwyn Bishop out there in that duster, because that is just it's just beautiful on track. The sun is out, it's gorgeous green colour, so
it's just like there.
Hopefully we'll see it out in the next race. Hopefully something very minor for those.
Yeah, well,
Alwyn
and Spencer had some pretty good battles, and you can just see with that mistake that Spencer made a couple of laps ago and how big a gap that Prefontaine. So this place has the habit of separating cars if you make a mistake, and you've got to get your head down, get the momentum back up to catch back up to the car in front of you if you've made that mistake, because that brake lock-up has genuinely cost Spencer probably 6 to 8 car lengths with that little issue at this part of the racetrack down at turn number 4. Fastest driver on track at the moment, Sean English, actually, with a 126.193. John English with a 126.37. So Sean's actually got pace on him at the moment, but I think he's using a whole lot more of the tyre than Dad is in the Pontiac Firebird. And the difference between the 6-litre car and the 5-litre car is basically horsepower. The 5-litre cars do have a little bit of an advantage being a lighter weight car. And there are a couple of teams actually specifically building new 5-litre cars for the future, including Ian Palmer, who's out there in the 5th position at the moment in the bright orange number 25 bird. They're actually building a brand new 5-litre car. They can see some advantages of running a little bit less weight, a little bit easier on the tyre, and a good 5-litre, as Sean English is proving here, can be very, very competitive against the 6-litre cars. They do swing a little bit more horsepower, but they do have to carry more weight as not a penalty, but that's just the difference between the 5 and the 6-litre cars.
And it's that power to weight ratio really which brings them into parity. So you don't need to stress too much if you only want to go to the 5-litre. And we've seen so many tough combinations built out there as well over the years, and they've refined it and refined it. I mean, these cars aren't young. They are around from the 60s and 70s, so they had plenty of years to refine the 5 and 6 litres there, get the oiling systems right, the cooling systems right for these longer races as well. So I don't think there's a big disadvantage in cubic inches. You can always camshaft ratios and RPM ranges, you know, you can always sort of get around that horsepower figure. You just hope that maybe a little bit more torque out of the 6-litre, but then you get that weight added to you. So you get that lead trophy, all of a sudden, you know, that parity comes back into play. And Sean English just in the background there looks like he just slid the Mustang for just a second.
Yeah, so let's talk about tyres. All of these teams are on exactly the same losing tyre. The trick is to get that tyre to survive the weekend. They are a relatively big, heavy car, lots of horsepower with the ability to slide. Drivers will prefer to drive in with a little bit of turn and understeer, which is harder on the front tyre. Some of the drivers prefer to steer them on the rear tyre, which sounds a little bit weird if you're listening to me talking about steering with the rear of the car. But it comes down to driver choice at the end of the day. So advantages, disadvantages across the different categories. Sean English is using all of the curves down there through the 11 and 12 complex back onto the front straight. There's Spencer trying to chase down Prefontaine, and that little mistake from Sean English really cost him the better part of near on a second in that last lap. Prefontaine's just set his fastest lap at a 1:26.39, so he's only 2 tenths slower than English. Both of these Mustangs are 5-litre cars. That is just a stunning looking race car, celebrating the history of Trans Am racing in America in the late 60s, where, boy, there were some names and some cars that became very, very famous, and some of these cars and the colour schemes are based on.
Yeah, it's great to see them out here in Australia and putting on some strong fields throughout racing. We saw them at Queensland Raceway for round number 3 of the Hi-Tec All Super Series, and a strong field there. Not quite as many here for Morgan Park Raceway and haven't made the journey inland. I mean, we're 2 hours in from Brisbane. We're not far from a capital city. It's easy to fly in, get a car and drive out here, and look at the views in the background. It's spectacular here in Warwick.
Absolutely stunning, and that's been the thing that I've got from a lot of people that haven't been here before. It's been a little while since I've been here. I haven't commentated here. My brother-in-law Steve raced in Excel going back 4 or 5 years, and it's a really tricky track, but as a facility and a venue, it is an absolutely stunning vista. You've got the trees, you've got this wonderful race circuit working in and around. You've got some great vantage points from the centre of the circuit to actually watch most of the circuit layout. Not the greatest of viewing down in the pit area, but if you're in the pit area, you're down there doing a job, not watching the motor race.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I suppose.
And when you're down there, you really get a feel for how much undulation there is throughout this race.
Yeah, down from the pit area, the elevation change is actually really, really distinctive. And that's one of the cool things about the venue is the different elevation changes throughout the circuit. So you're actually running uphill here from 2 to 3 up past here at the commentary position and the Morgan Park Raceway bridge there. So that's the run down to 4. Just look at that drop down the hill on that camera shot there. And then it sort of flattens out around the back. Then you sort of work your way back down as you get to the front side of the circuit, with quite a tricky series of corners. This will be that turn 6, the sharper one that we were talking about. And that sort of transitions to 7. And you've got to get this run here right. And then you've got the little tricky sort of kink after that. But look at that. It's just a stunning looking place. It is very, very cool, that drone shot.
Well, final lap of this race here for the Australian Trans Ams, and Johnny English still leading out over his son Sean English at the moment. But Sean English just ran the fastest lap of the race, a 1:26.19. So he might be a little bit too far out with 1 second gap there, but it looks like it's a little bit less already as we come through the final couple of corners. They're going to head up turns 11 and 12. We're not quite sure what we're going to call this yet. We've called it many things. The crisscross, what do we call it? The flip-flop is what I got told it was by one of the race directors.
A lot sharper than
here we go.
Johnny English has got to run. John English, it's going to be close. I think John might be just having a little bit of fun there, but there's nothing in it at the line, just 0.12 of a second. John English may be putting on a little bit of a show there and just letting Sean get a little bit excited. But, hey, Sean's going to get the bragging rights with the fastest lap of the race. And with that, John Prefontaine in behind him set his fastest lap of the race and was actually only a tenth off what Sean English just did. So exciting stuff for the opening race here on Sunday. Part of the coverage, round 4 of the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series. Looking forward to bringing some great action right throughout the day. And we have some very, 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 very big fields across the other categories, including obviously TA2, which is the highlight here this weekend with the TA2 Muscle Car Series framed by Hi-Tec.
Yeah, the Replica Tourers are coming out next onto track, and they have had some big fields. We started with almost 30 there this weekend. Unfortunately, a few mechanical issues. But let's have a look at the results from the Australian Trans Am race number 3 here this weekend. Johnny English will take himself 3 wins from 3 races. Sean English will get 2nd. John Prefontaine holds on to 3rd position with Mark Spencer chasing him down in 4th. Then it's Ian Palmer and Trisha Chan. Alan Bishop, unfortunately, didn't make it to the race. Well, that's very interesting results. So we'll see them back out a little bit later on this afternoon, the Australian Trans Am. In the meantime, let's head down to Stephen White in pits.
Thank you, Matty. Obviously, I've been waiting for Replica Tourists to go out, but I've found an interesting spectator here, but it's actually a birthday spectator. So, Matty McKeldin, driver of the 99 TA2, 99 Mustang TA2 racer. Matty McKeldin, happy birthday.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, 50 years of age, I get to raise the bat and kiss the cap. And to be honest, mate, I wouldn't be anywhere else. I mean, if you're a guy like me and you love your motorsport, spending a birthday at a racetrack, especially a 50th birthday, and especially driving these things around Morgan Park, wouldn't be anywhere else.
How's your weekend been going so far?
Yeah, look, not too bad. I've done a lot of laps around here, and these cars are a handful around here as well. So, we got a 20 lapper this afternoon, and it can be a bit of a tire eater, this place. So, been a little conservative in my first run. I popped up to 9th out of 12, so qualifying wasn't ideal. I just want to make sure that I've got a good bank of tyres for this afternoon.
And you had an interesting Friday. Obviously, you had a small mechanical issue. Look out, we've got happy birthday kiss from Wade Oranger there. So,
well, now that's the highlight.
See
right
that? That's the magic of live television. See that?
Exactly. That's the highlight right there. So I've got a bit of beard rash now from Wade.
Yeah, well, he's a good man. As long as you haven't got any of that methanol moonshine on you, then you're pretty right.
No. He hasn't given me a bottle of the old methanol moonshine. I've got to sort that out, I think.
So obviously you had an interesting Friday. Early Friday, I saw you a little bit dejected because I suppose it didn't start off the way you thought it would be, but obviously you bounced back and the car's good to go.
Yeah, I had a gearbox failure going down into turn 1 here, which the category's going to check out and try and understand why that happened, because it probably was something that we didn't expect. So, but my crew was sensational. Like we got back here, got the box out and a new box in within 40 minutes. The great thing about TA2 is they've got trucks here with all the spare parts, gearboxes, engine, drive lines, all that sort of stuff. Just take it out, put a new one in.
Beautiful, no worries. All right, well, good luck for today.
Thank you, mate.
Happy birthday again, and back to you guys.
Great to see Matty McKeldin down there. He's a real personality down there within the pits. And
I don't know that I'd want to be kissed by Wade Oranger. He's a big, hairy man, and look, I'm a big, hairy man, but yeah, that
I'll tell you what, we need to see some of that methanol moonshine. I think we need to celebrate the 50th birthday a bit later on today. But let's have a look at the highlights here from the Australian Trans Am race number 3, our first race of the morning, day number 3. And it was a really dominant starting in from Johnny and Sean English, the father and son combinations. But it was here Mark Spencer actually had the jump on John Prefontaine and was started out in 3rd position, but John Prefontaine didn't take long before he managed to wrangle that position back.
Yeah, Mark made a little mistake and that just opened up the door. And then it was basically the battle of the Englishes out in front, Firebird versus the Mustang. And Sean made some ground up, set the fastest lap of the race, and Prefontaine, he set his fastest lap of the race right at the end on the last lap. You can see there with Sean with the Mustang definitely using a lot more tyre on that race car, chasing down his dad, and you just get the feeling John was maybe a little bit more comfortable out there in front and putting on a little bit of a show as they drag race down to the line for the race finish with Johnny English taking the victory.
Yeah, you can see that right at the end. It was only 0.12 of a second over the line, the difference between those two. So I think they were just playing some games. And they're giving them a good wave, too, when we were down in pit lane earlier when they were lined up, ready to go. And you can see next up our Replica tourers are all lined up and ready to go. And that was some exciting racing yesterday. Now, Jason Clements has been really strong in the left-hand drive BMW in this category this weekend. And, of course, Ian Woodward is back, and he's got that big horsepower Camaro as well. It's a TCM car, basically. And horsepower's not always an advantage when you get around a tight, twisty track like this. It does assist, but you really have to have the cars turn. With a BMW, straight out to 3.4 litre. It's got plenty of horsepower, built over in the United States as well, with one of his co-drivers from endurance racing, and that's been a bit of an advantage for John Clements around this time. But plenty more cars going on. We've got the Commodores lined up. They had a nice little battle yesterday, and of course that was Rex Scholes, Leonard Myers and John Robinson. That was sort of the battle for 4th position. That was really great to watch in that 3rd race.
Yeah, look, it's just diversity as well. There are so many different cars across this category, and one of the biggest lineups of the weekend, I think we've got 25 cars starting for this race here this morning.
Yeah, let's have a look at the Replica Tourers Trophy Series now. Race number 3 starting grid, and it will be John Clements taking on Ian Woodward on the front row. Then it goes back to Rex Scholes taking on Stephen Hay and the Commodore in the 2nd row, before we go back to John Robinson and Les Myers as well. Jeff Russell, after a bit of an incident, back into 8th position there, alongside Chris Solomon. And then we go back to, obviously, Woodward will be on the 5th row with Allen. Then it's Herford and King, Pfeiffer and Barwick. We go back to Smallwood and Everett on the 8th row. Rowe and Hoffman will be off the 9th. Rowe and Took will be off the 10th row of the grid. Pereira and Hughes going back a little bit further before we go to Turner and Ferguson. And I'll be interested to see whether we do see Jordan Walker out there. Now, mechanical issues yesterday, that car kept going to limp mode. Will we see her return to racing today? Because they were talking to their dyno tuner and trying to get as much information together, because I think it's just a sensor, possibly something to do with the fly-by-wire throttle control.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye out and see if the Burson's Commodore actually makes the grid. So, Matt, you talked about tight and twisty. I don't think it's so much that it's a tight racetrack, but twisty. It's the transition changes from left to right, which becomes an advantage for some of the smaller capacity cars like the BMWs. You know, as a platform, those BMW E-Series race cars are very, very good, wonderful handling cars. You start throwing stroker 6-cylinder engines into them and sequential gearboxes, they're very, very quick, and you put that against just the brute force of the Camaro of Ian Woodward, which is starting off the pole in this one. You know, that's where the differences are. Pluses and minuses again, horsepower versus balance and less weight comes into it. So Woodward, Clement, Steve Hay will start out at 3. Hay's had a pretty solid weekend so far after a pretty solid weekend at the previous round of Queensland Raceway as well.
Yeah, looking at the grid there, Harry Everett, though, is in 15th. Now, he had blown diff yesterday, and great to see a couple of other competitors from the field help him get that fixed and out for race number 2. So he is in 15th, and we'll see how he goes. But, yeah, I do want to see off the back of the grid whether we see Jordan Walker. She'll be great to get back into this racing, of course. Their family's all here this weekend. Her boyfriend's out there as well. So she actually got him involved in this racing, so it's very interesting. It might be off the back of the grid. We'll have a look in just a second.
I just see a flash of Bursons, did I?
Ooh, we're having a look. Because watch for her. She might work her way through the grid and make a number of positions early in this race. As we said, it's not a wide track here. There are probably 3 main corners where we're going to see the overtaking. One of those is one as we get underway with this race. And let's have a look at this. 12 laps to go, and Ian Woodward with the horsepower into turn number 1. See some brake lockups there. Plenty of smoke back in the field. And do they just stay off contact? It looks like they have.
Yeah, 1 and 2's very, very tricky off these race starts on the approach under brake. So the little Corolla there was one of those cars having an issue. There was sort of a little bit of a brake lock up there. But yeah, the big Camaro's going to lead down into 4 the first time. Again, another puff of smoke, and that was from the Corolla again. And now the Falcon with a big lock up down the inside. That is the 88 of Adam King. That is a 6-cylinder naturally aspirated car. Woodward's got his mirrors full already with Clements, who's been the benchmark for the weekend. Another lock-up. That was Hires on the inside in the Tyre Busters Commodore. This is all on, and we haven't even done half a lap yet.
And look, the Commodores are back out. Rex Scholes and Les Myers are in their 4th position battle. As you see, just coming on the screen, the mobile number 1 there, the Jack Daniels Commodore. Watch out behind, though, because Solomon, well, he is chasing him down now. Look at Solomon go there in that Toyota Sprinter.
Yeah, that's a 2-litre 4-cylinder car. So, again, huge weight advantage over some of the bigger cars, and it's not lacking for horsepower. Oh, Woodward! There's some exit oversteer for the big Camaro. So that is a TCN Touring Car Masters spec Camaro. Woody, obviously an engine builder with his fat ass business in Brisbane. He's had a lot to do with getting behind and creating this series amongst a lot of the guys as well. And just again, look at the diversity. There's Mustangs, Commodores, BMWs. There's just so much diversity right through this field.
Check out John Robertson here, comes over in the red Commodore, the 555 entry there. He's just gone past Jeff Russell there now. There's a bit of smoke coming out of this car. It might be tyre rubbing on there as they go through the corners. I hope that's all it is. We have seen a couple of tyres being cut in other categories this weekend. So they are pushing really hard around this circuit. So hopefully we don't see him go out, because he has been up there. Those 3 Commodores normally go down. Look at the smoke on our screen.
That was
another lock-up from someone else earlier on. Now, Jeff Russell, another one we need to talk about in the Mustang there, the 72 Metrol entry. Well, that might be the car with smoke I saw. Now, they had some damage on the side of that car. They made contact with someone else in one of the previous races. So they've been working on that car. They managed to get it out for the racing yesterday in the second race for the Replica Tourers. But, yeah, definitely some temporary repairs being done.
Yeah, they had a clash with Dylan Pereira, unfortunately, and did quite a bit of damage. My understanding, that is actually a production car spec Mustang. It's a beautiful car. Sounds the part too, but yeah, carrying a little bit of damage from yesterday. So there's lots of brake lockups already this morning across this class, and a couple of cars just trailing smoke. There's the Solomon Corolla. Very, very quick little race car. It's got wings and appendages all over the show on that thing to try and create downforce. As we go back to our leaders, Woodward continues to hold off Clements here, and Clements has just set the fastest lap of the race at a 1:23.98. He's got a couple of tenths on Woodward, but Woody's got the track position at the moment, and I'm going to say that that's going to be a very, very wide Camaro for the next period of time.
Yeah, they're wide by nature. He's making it a whole lot wider out there on track at the moment. You see right in the midline, but Clements is going to have a dive down into turn number 4. It's not going to happen for him under brakes. And Woodward
Woody was being nice.
All of his racecraft, really.
Woody was being nice.
Hey, he slides it out at 4 as well. How exciting is to watch these Replica Tours. Just such a growing category too. And like I said, we started with over 30 cars. Unfortunately, we've seen a fair bit of mechanical failure here this weekend, which is just unlucky at some of these race meets. But they're getting over 30 cars at every one of their race meets now. So it's a great category involved in, of course. And you go into it's on the capacity of your engine. That's what they're looking at. So we're going to start at a 2-litre class, then up to a 3.5, and then up to a 6-litre.
Yeah, yes, I think there's a 6 point. There's a stroker class as well.
Yeah, 6.2, and then there's an open. So you start doing things like adding in sequential gearboxes, you go up a class. If you've got a 3-litre engine, but you have a sequential gearbox, you go to the 6-litre class. Anyway, in the meantime, while this race is underway, we're going to head down to Stephen White in the pits.
Thanks, Matty. I have with me Craig Lyne, so category organiser, category manager, those sorts of roles, and a competitor as well. Craig, how's Replica Tours? Fantastic field here. Seems to be just getting stronger and stronger.
Unbelievable. I mean, we started the weekend with 30 cars once again, joined you for 2 days of thunder with 36. 30 today. Unfortunately, a bit of attrition in practice yesterday, so we're still running around 20 cars in the field. So fantastic spread of cars.
And obviously there's some talk around this category going south and other states. Obviously the popularity of watching it, A, on TV, and B, the participation is growing, so fantastic.
Very much so. Since the 2 days of Thunder Round with you guys televised, the fielded questions that we have had, you guys have had from down South Victoria, New South Wales, been massive. So we're certainly looking at it.
No worries. Thanks again, Craig. Good job, and we'll see you at the next event.
Well, Craig spoke about the exciting racing, but then you see Clements just got him on turn number 4. He had a look last lap, and it's one of these circuits, Morgan Park Raceway, where you've really got to be on your game, and you have to think about your move probably half a lap to 3/4 of a lap earlier. So he would have had a look at that last lap and said, you know what, I'm just going to wind the car up with all these corners, keep that speed up, that momentum, and I'm going to have another crack at him next lap. Now, with 12 laps, you don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, and look, you would think the lighter BMW is going to be probably better on its tyre over a longer run than the big Camaro, because Woody was using up a fair amount of the rear tyre and more in that sequence of corners through 11 and 12. I'm going to have a little word to Woody when I see him later on, because I think he was too nice. With that initial one where Clements couldn't get the pass done, you could have driven a Kenworth down the inside of him there. So Ian was being very nice, and on the next lap when Clements did actually go by him, I think Ian was being too nice again, and Clements actually's just run him up a little bit deeper into the corner on the turn down the bottom of the hill here at 4. So let's see if Woody can regroup here and stay with him as it's locking up the rears. Oh, it's a beautifully presented car, and it's done a lot of racing with TCM. It's a very, very quick car, and effectively that's Woody's shop car for his business, Fat As Racing Engines.
Yeah, he does that. It doesn't work on a couple of the cars down there as well, builds a few of the engines in this category, and it's a tough motor, I believe. It's just over 700 horsepower at the flywheel, so it's a big horsepower engine out there. And
700 horsepower is enough to give anyone the shit.
If he gets a run out of turn 11 and 12, the final 2 corners here, you're not going to catch him down this short straight at Morgan Park. No way whatsoever in any of the other cars. Is Clements holding on, and we are less than 8 laps away from finishing race number 3 here for the Replica Tour Trophy Series. Of course, great to have them join us for the second time in the Hi-Tec All Super Series. We did have them at Queensland Raceway as well, and wouldn't it be great to take them down to Sydney Motorsport Park and places like that in the coming seasons of the Hi-Tec All Super Series?
That couple of shots there is part of the reason why there are a few teams maybe having some tyre issues. So that run through 11 and 12, both of those cars using a whole heap of curb on exit and entry, and it actually drops the inside of the wheel down into the backside of the curb. And that's where we're seeing a lot of the issues across some of the categories. Steve Hay in a battle there with Myers in the 111 Tyre Busters Commodore. Steve Hay's had a solid weekend. He's been there or thereabouts and sort of in that 3rd or 4th position through most of the weekend. And there's another car that's not lacking for horsepower. This is the 28 of Rexy Scholes and the Jack Daniels Replica. He's been chased by the little Corolla of Solomon.
Solomon, he has a look down the inside of 4. Can he get him under brakes? A lot lighter car. And you really notice the braking differences when they go down the main straight into turn number 1, how late the lighter cars can get on the brakes. But yeah, he had a look at that one. Rex wasn't going to open the door too much.
Rex opened the wheel up a little bit. He saw him coming and actually just ran it down into the corner, just a touch deep. If he does lose it here, I'm going to give him a little bit of space. But that's the battle on racetrack at the moment for the 5th and 6th position. In behind them, we go back to car 72, and that's Jeff Russell in that beautiful 2022 Ford Mustang. And that's been in the wars this weekend. He's a little bit off the back of that battle at the moment, just coming into shot there. But look how much time Solomon loses through the backside of the circuit after that commitment under brakes into 4. But he'll start probably closing up now as they get that run onto the main straight and through the last sequence of corners through 11 and 12. This is that sequence here. Quite a big direction change, and you've got to get the car slowed down and exit onto the straight, which then translates down into 1 and the run up to 2. And if you mess up that run into 1 under brakes and get 2, completely wrong, that's your lap destroyed, and you lose so much momentum.
Jeff Russell lurking in the background of that little fight there, but have a look on screen now. Stephen Hay under all sorts of pressure from Les Myers, who just loses a bit of the back end out there, slides the car as he's chasing him down.
Yeah,
Stephen Hay, that's a 6.2. Oh, it's straight out actually. I don't know the exact cubes that one, but LSX on board for him. That's the beauty about Replica Tourers. We're not going to keep the 5 litre in it. They go to a bit more of a late model engine. Probably makes it a little bit cheaper on maintenance as they go forward because, of course, the late model LS engine. And there we go. Myers not worried about those back tyres. They are going to be shot if he keeps sliding that around like he is.
Got to get through the weekend, of course. So Ian Woodward, he's lost a little bit of time just in the last lap. Clemens is actually out to a 3-second lead. Woody lost a second on the last lap, so there might have been a little mistake as, again, big exit oversteer from that race car. So the Pacific Garage number 55, Jason Clemens, has got things under control, which he's pretty much had throughout the weekend. 1:21.93, fastest lap of the race for the Clements BMW. That last lap was a 23.3. So he's just conserving, just backed off that pace a little bit to get the thing home. And he's had a few little issues gearbox-wise this weekend, Matt.
Yeah, they did have a vibration in that gearbox when it came into practice on Friday, so they were actually searching through Warwick, through everybody they could to try and find the right bush. I do believe they're not running the standard gearbox. It's a similar mount, but the bush is a different size, so they're going through the catalogues or whatever spare parts place they can to try and match one up. And the words that were said down there were, oh, well, it only vibrates over 7,000 RPM. So as long as we don't go too far past that, it's fine. So he might be lacking a little bit of that high RPM horsepower, which I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. It's really only down the main straight where you might see him lose that, and he's probably short-shifting the gears just a fraction. But plenty of torque now that that's stroked out to 3.4 litre. We've seen how quick they are overseas with this engine combination, and there's no surprise he went to his friend over in America and said, well, you're building these high-horsepower BMW engines. You're stroking them out. What can you do for me?
No, it is a very, very cool car, and it's left-hand drive, which for us yesterday commentating here at the track, from the tower over the bridge, we're right over the top of turn 3 and that inside wall, and that car on turn-in is just millimetres away from that wall, and seeing it being left-hand drive right over the top is something really cool to watch. And likewise, Woody and the Camaro, it's a left hooker as well, so they're right up against that wall on the run through turn number 3. Look at that gap now. That gap has gone out to 9 seconds. I reckon Woody's got a problem here because that last lap was a 1:30 and he's done a 1:22, so 8 seconds. I think Ian Woodward might have an issue.
He's got to watch out for Stephen Hay and Les Myers, who are really catching the Tyre Busters Commodore, though, on the back of Stephen Hay. Now, they could work together here for a lap or two and possibly catch Ian Woodward, or are they going to keep this fight going? We'll have to wait and find out as they go all the way out there.
Well, they were 6 seconds quicker on the last lap. And down in the pits, Stephen, what do you got?
Thank you, guys. I've actually got an interesting one for some of those people out there, might even be gamers. Roman Miller's M2, the 2018 M2, has this fascinating wheel on it, as you can see. It's totally different than a road car, but looks like something out of Formula 1. Roman, perhaps tell us a little bit about the wheel and how you use it.
Well, that's the wheel I've gone for, that because to me this is like a perfect wheel. That I'm doing sim racing as well, and this is exactly the replica of the this is the actual wheel, but I'm racing on the replica. So this is exactly so I can see from my sim race to here. Yes, it's quite expensive one because it's a proper wheel, but it does the thing. You can see all the data here, like all your gauges, all your temperatures, all that. So it's really amazing. So we can program here like a radio, M2, rain, M1, M2, M1. So it's amazing. Yeah, it's really cool, and you have shifters here. So it's pretty much just like sitting in a sim rig, but in the real life.
Fantastic. And this is your second race meeting, so you're doing fantastically well, and well done. Fantastic innovation, and good luck for the rest of the week.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Well, we just saw on our screens there Tony Rowe in the Autoglass Warehouse Toyota 86. Got a couple of cars here this weekend. One of the biggest Autoglass wholesalers here in the Queensland too, in the Brisbane area. Just pulling away. I think he might just got out of the way of racing there, possibly having some issue. We did see that in the infield yesterday in race number 2. But a bit of smoke out there, which might be a tyre lock-up as well. As we go back through the field here, and there's some great racing going on. Of course, this is Mr. Ferguson, who's out there in the Commodore. Had a little bit of contact yesterday. They were repairing that, but he's in a bit of a battle now because in front of him he's got Woodward and King. And then just a little bit in front of them is Everett, who had that diff issues yesterday. So the battle for 10th position really heating up out on track at the moment, and we are less than 3 laps remaining.
So Ian Woodward's still holding on to that second spot, but only just. Hay and Myers are right in behind. This is sort of the next battle group in behind them. This will be the battle for that sort of 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th position, led by the 50...
Harry Everett
in the Commodore. And again, look at the diversity there. You've got that beautiful Bud Replica Mustang going back. I think some of the cars that Ian Palmer ran back in the GT days, it's a replica of it. It's not the genuine car. And you've also got a Brock HDT mobile replica in there. That's just such a cool car. And this Falcon here, this is a 6-cylinder, naturally aspirated Falcon with Adam King in the number 88. And he's out there playing with the V8 boys. So that car is not lacking for horsepower.
Tell you what, in this field of cars, they're very visually spectacular, aren't they? They really bring that old touring look. But, you know, you can modernise the car. If you want to go up a category, you can really add, like, those sequential gearboxes or put the later model engine in. It just forces you to go up one category. So we've got lots of racing within the race as well. As you see up on your screens, the number 49 car. And, of course, that's going to be Sam Allen coming through in the Just Trailers Engineering BMW E36, followed closely by the 555 there of John Robinson, who's dropped back through the field in the Zeus Automotive Holden Commodore.
Still smoking, John Robinson. So Sam Allen's running in the 8th position. Robinson in 9th. Then you go back to that number 50 of Everett in the 10th position. So I don't know if that's a diff seal. It'll be an IRS rear end, so maybe a CB issue going on there or a gearbox leak. It's a little bit hard to tell at the moment. It's not really hurting his outright speed, but he's still inside the top 10. So that's a good effort across this pretty big field in the Replica Tourist Trophy Series.
Well, those CV joints were a weak point, weren't they? We were speaking about that yesterday with the IRS combination, especially with the Commodore, to get so much horsepower out of them now. That's where the weak point seems to be for these cars in the Replica Tours, but he's still out on track and circulating. Of course, yesterday, John Robinson ended up in 6th, now down to 9th.
Some of the other drivers going through the field. So there's 2 or 3, actually I think there's 4 86s across this field running in amongst this as well. There's the race leader. So Clements is in amongst the lap traffic. Jason Clements in the 55 car. He's got a 12-second advantage over Ian Woodward, who still is able to hold off Hay and Myers for that second position. So whatever issue Woodward had, maybe he's got a slowly deflating tyre or something that he's mindful of and has just backed off the pace to get the thing home, because at the moment he seems to be able to cover the Hay and Myers and Scholes Commodores.
You reckon Woodward's worn down to the canvas in a couple of spots to
well,
slide that car around?
The way the car was using the curves through that 11-12 sequence, I wouldn't be surprised if possibly maybe it's cut the inside right there. So you can see Clements much wider line that time. Both of them were pretty aggressive through that part of the race circuit earlier on in the day, early on in the race. As the checkered flag is out for Clements, he dominates the 3rd race of the weekend for the Replica Tourers. And it's daylight back to Ian Woodward as there's some lap traffic. There's Woody. So again, he had enough to be able to cover Hay, who's dropped off Myers. Where's the Tyre Busters Commodore gone? We've lost the Tyre Busters Commodore somewhere there. He's lost a heap of ground just coming up over the hill now. He will get 4th out of that, but he was right there with Hay a couple of laps ago. And then in the 5th position, we'll be looking for Scholes.
Yeah, he's about to come over the Jack Daniels Commodore. There he is with Solomon right behind. Jeff Russell, though, he's going to put a bit of a charge on in the end of the Mustang. I don't think he's going to get there, and he does, and he ends up in 7th behind Solomon. That was a fantastic little battle towards the end. I can't wait for that to continue on in race number 4 a little bit later. Of course, the Replica Tourers are great to have them joining us here for the 2nd time as part of the Hi-Tec All Super Series, and they will be back this afternoon joining us for our live coverage from 1:30 p.m. this afternoon. We go live at 1 o'clock, straight after the TO2 muscle cars. So it's going to be fantastic. Let's have a look at how it all ended for the Replica Tour Trophy Series here. Jason Clements gets himself another win in. Woodward couldn't hold him out. Something going wrong with that car. Stephen Hay almost got there in 3rd position. Leonard Myers in 4th. Rex Scholes managed in 5th. Then Chris Solomon, Jeff Russell, Sam Allen. John Robinson back to 9th. Some issues with that car. Adam King in 10th.
That's a great result for Adam King with that 6-cylinder Falcon. Back to Graham Woodward in the Bud Mustang. Tim Barwick in the Mobile HDT Commodore Replica. Harry Everett, Taylor Herford, Hunter Ferguson, Brian Smallwood, Nathaniel Rowe, Duke Hoffman, Dylan Pereira and Roger Pfeiffer.
And it was Tony Rowe rounding out our field. Of course, unfortunately, the people below there did not make it out onto the grid. No, did not make the start. So, unfortunately, mechanical issues creeping into a few of the cars. We saw them out in qualifying and practice. Started to lose a couple. Let's have a look at the Hi-Tec Oils highlights over the Replica Tour Trophy Series. And Stephen Hague a little bit loose in third position, didn't he?
The third row missed that start completely. They had about 6 car lengths. There's Solomon with that first lock-up, and I think it was the King Falcon in behind reacting to that, also locked up potentially a right front, which is something that happens very, very often here on the approach to one. Ian Woodward, no such problems, but he was sideways big time and managed to hold out Clements this time. Again, I thought Woody was being too nice there, but the next lap, that's where Clements took his opportunity and went down the inside of turn 4. Woodward was able to stay with him. Again, there's that curb usage. Both sides, both front tyres there. I wonder if that's an issue that may have cut a tyre and was slowly deflating one of the tyres on Woodward's car as he started backing off and lost about 13 seconds by the end of the race. Entertaining battles through the middle. Adam King went gardening.
That's a nice way of putting it. Graham Woodward in that Bud Mustang did a fantastic job. John Clements so strong and dominant this weekend. He ended up with second yesterday, but after a few issues there, but qualified first on the grid, won race number 1, and look at him. Just took him a few laps to get past Ian Woodward, and once he got there, he just dominated the rest of that race. Talking about people who dominate, let's head down to Stephen in the pits.
Thank you, Matty. Yes, I'm here with the TA2 Championship points leader, Dylan Thomas. Dylan, you've had a great weekend so far, just sitting there in a watching brief in third, but how's it going for you, and what's today going to bring?
Yeah, we've been working at it, trying to get closer to both Hainsey and Jackson. I mean, we expected Hainsey to be good, and he rolled out, and he was like half a second up on all of us, so really impressive performance by him, but probably more surprising at the performance of Jackson. He's really been good and did a great pass on Hainsey in that first race. We had a little bit of rear instability in that first race, so we just struggled a little bit, but we've tuned it up a little bit, so hopefully we've got a little bit more in it and we can actually go and be in the battle. So the objective is we need to try and get out there and go get a win. We want to get a win, and we want to be in this fight. We can't just we can't keep just consolidating point. We've really got to try and get some back.
Obviously, you had a great top 8. You were qualified a little bit further back, and then you broke into the 15s in the top 8 shootout yesterday. Obviously, the car's got pace, and you're sitting there, as I said yesterday in yesterday's race, just sitting there in a bit of a watching brief, and the young guys are charging up the front. But clearly, yes, a little bit more. If you tickled the car up this morning, then hopefully today's a bit more of a bit of a challenge for you.
Yeah, well, the top 8 was actually a plan. So in qualifying, we went out and just did 1 lap. So if you look on the lap chart, everybody else did 2, maybe 3 laps. And we were literally just looking after that tyre because all we needed to do was be in the top 8. So being 5th in the qualifying session was actually not a concern. We always felt that we were in the top 3 in outright pace, and we obviously showed that. So we still were a little bit further off of both Jackson and Hainsey than we would have liked to have been. But we've been plugging away. We're getting closer. The boys have been doing a great job of setup. We've tried a few things on the car that we wouldn't normally try. We did do a test day in the lead-up, which did help a little bit for that. So, yeah, hopefully we're still moving in that direction, and we're tweaking ourselves closer and closer. And as the weekend goes on, we've always been good on race pace, less so on qualifying. So they'll come back to us, and then hopefully we can send one in there.
No worries. Well, I think Dylan's, as I said, Dylan's got a wise head, been around a long time, and good luck for the rest of the weekend.
No worries, thank you.
What's he saying there, Steve? Wise head, been around for a long time, Dylan Thomas? Look, he is a formidable force when it comes to this championship, and he won't talk about it. He goes, it's too early to talk championship, still halfway through. We're already 3 rounds completed, but let's talk about it. Dylan Thomas only leads us by a slim margin over Jackson Rice and Josh Haynes. He's 3rd yesterday in qualifying after the top 8 shootout. He's 3rd yesterday in the racing. In front of him is Josh Haynes and Jackson Rice. So there's definitely some championship implications out of this round number 4 of racing before we head to Sydney Motorsport Park. But you never know. He's always got a couple of people. Tim Brooks teamed up with him in Darwin. He flew Tim Brooks.
Was dominant, man.
And he flew him up to Queensland to help him with some driver training, as well as, I don't think he needs driver training, but also the setup of the car. And Dylan Thomas taking this very serious this year. Not that he ever doesn't, but just he knows it's chomping at the bit. He's so close to getting that championship that he really wants in the TO2 Muscle Car Series. So hopefully we'll see him really battle those front two runners. And talking about battling down in the pits, who have you got now, Steve?
So we've got Josh Haynes. Absolutely outstanding effort in the top 8 yesterday, Josh. Fantastic race, really. And you obviously said to yourself, you know, there's a little bit more in the car. You've obviously worked on the car overnight. How are you looking for today? And let's say that you qualified on pole. You were quickest in the top 8. Fantastic qualifying. And it was a really exciting race. Unfortunately, Jackson pipped you there at the end, but today's looking better.
That's right. You know, obviously yesterday I was a tad disappointed with second place, but in the big picture, second is an unreal result. We're here for a championship. So well done to Jackson. Congrats on the win. We got a big day today, 3 races. Going to stick to what we usually do, run our own race, keep it on the black stuff. And yeah, hopefully we can come out on top. And I'd just like to thank my sponsors for all their support.
You obviously have tickled the car up overnight. Looking good for today?
Yeah, looking good. We'll go out and have a crack. Looking forward to it.
No worries. Good on you. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, great to catch up with Josh Haynes. He is definitely a young talent. But up on track now, the Queensland Touring Car Championship, race number 3. And this is how it's going to start. Rob Bellinger has been super dominant in that M3 BMW. Then it's Peter Gray. Gary Lang and Nathan Mark will start in the second row of the grid. Then it's Ben Malpass and Luke Beveridge, who had some fantastic battles. Then we see, of course, we work our way down there. Another couple of people we need to pull out of here that we see a little bit further down. Of course, David Yanko had some issues there in the Holden Commodore. Jason Levitt at the end. So wait and see in that Mazda 6. So just running around different categories here as well. Isn't there, Jamie? So we've got to talk about the Queensland Touring Car Championships where we've got these A's and B's and C's and D's on the window.
Yeah, so A, B and C basically is a different class representation. So it's not so much on horsepower versus weight versus... It's more about capability and where you're comfortable with the speed for your race car. So Class A, the outright guys are capable of just going out there and blasting some super times. Class B, here at Morgan Park, they'll have a lap time that they have to run to. If they break out and go faster than that, they'll end up getting pushed up into Class A. Class C likewise. So the Class C are slower groups, a nice way to put it. But again, maybe look less experienced drivers and maybe smaller horsepower cars. So again, if you break out of Class C and go faster than their designated lap time, as we go to green, there's some big lockups there. One of the BMWs was sideways.
Is that Malpass? I think
it was Malpass, and the 16 was completely sideways, and he's trying to gather it back up as one of the Commodores. That's Brown going past him, the reigning Class A champion, who had some dramas here yesterday. If you're in a BMW, it's a very, very good place to be at the moment. But, yeah, boy, that was a little bit busy. So, again, coming back to that class structure, if you break out of that designated lap time for this race circuit, you'll get put up a grade into the next class.
Now, as you notice, most of our races are a rolling start. This week, only 2 categories. They're going to stop on the grid and do a standstill start. So they quick, sharp and short. We get them underway 1 lap with the pace car and they are going. But we do have one of the cars dropping off there in the field.
Was that Bray?
It might be, yeah.
Because Beveridge is up into second, so that's Peter Bray in the Commodore. He's either searching for gears or he's got an issue, and he's been solidly in the top 3 or 4 throughout the weekend so far. So Bray is dropping down the order. Now, for the championship, that is your championship leader going into this weekend here at Morgan Park. And QTCC are very, very liberal with their points because Peter was leading the points championship and he was on 6,529 points. Les Hannafin second in the points going, and he was at a mere 5,264 points. So very, very liberal with their points given out in the QTCC. But Les has had a bit of a struggle this weekend as going into the round second in points in his Class A Commodore, beautiful Valvoline Replica Group C touring car. But Les, I don't know if he's struggling to get his head around this place, maybe just a little bit too much horsepower, maybe not a lot of experience here at Morgan Park, but some of the bigger cars certainly have struggled here throughout the weekend across some of these classes.
Oh, here we go. Bono goes off in the XD Falcon, goes for a bit of lawn mowing there, sideways, and just making sure no one around. So, what a Corso there in the XD Falcon. Fantastic job to get that back on. Luckily, no cars around at the time. Now, let me know a look at this one here as the car's back off a fraction. So that's Luke in the background. Now, in race number 1, we saw him go up early, went down and confirmed that he actually cut a tyre. That bad that he actually had to go off. It wasn't a flat tyre, it was completely cut. So he had some issues there in that race number 1 there, and he's worked his way back through the field. Now, here's the number 34.
I've just done the commentary curse. I was talking about him, he wasn't even on the screen, but that's second in points going into this round at Morgan Park. Les Hannafin in the Valvoline Hanno's Car Care Commodore. He's had a mechanical drama on the run through 3 and pulled off the racetrack. I wouldn't think that would bring out a safety car. It's probably far enough off track and away from the racing line, but there's some tidal dramas there for second in points going into this weekend.
I think you're right. Probably safe from a safety car. He's moved right off, and the cars are shooting out wide coming out of that corner. So, no, there we go. Safety car is out.
I could not have called that any more wrong if I tried.
Here we go. Look at the concentration on the driver out there. He is focused, our safety car driver, to get around here in the Morgan Park Raceway pace car. I will line them up again. So,
Matt, can I just say, I think that is the worst call I have ever made in commentary. Oh, dear.
Now, I'm just having a look where Gary Anger has ended up in this race as well. I don't think I've seen him come back out. Oh, no, there he is, in 11th position. 11th position there for Gary Anger. Now, yesterday he broke an axle in race 2 and took out a brake line. Now, we saw him just going around very slowly, and now that explains why that was.
Did you catch up with Chris Brown as to what issues we thought he was having? Because I thought he had a tyre down in the first race.
Yes, he did, I think, confirmed. So a tyre went low there, but he's had some sort of steering or suspension issue, so the car has not really come back to what it normally was when he's been racing. We've seen that car was so unsettled getting around the track, the number 50 of Chris Brown. So,
yeah, that's the WSM Commodore, which is there, right there in the queue in position 5. So look, Chris is the reigning Class A Series champion for QTCC. Brisbane Collision Centre have a lot to do with this series, and they sponsor a lot of these cars as well, as does WSM. So I would expect that Brown had to be a lot further up the front so far throughout the weekend, but he's obviously had his dramas. I'm pretty sure on Friday here in practice I saw the front end completely out of that car. So whether it's a geometry issue or they had damaged uprights or what, I don't know what was going on, but the car on turn-in was sledging up, especially up into turn 1, and here at 3, even in the second race here yesterday afternoon, it just did not look comfortable, and a car that Chris could drive comfortably.
He's definitely busy behind the steering wheel, wasn't he? You could see how much he was moving around, trying to wrestle the car. It was not playing nice at all. It's Hannafin now in the Valvoline 34. Unfortunately, that Commodore being escorted off the track with a tow vehicle. That is very unfortunate. Like you say, championship implications, but there's big points on the line, and you have a look at a win here, you get several hundred points for a win, so the big numbers are up there. So it may dilute a little bit.
I don't think I've ever seen a point score of 6,500 points after 3 rounds of a championship. Steve White down in the pits, what have you got, mate?
I have a pretty important guy down here, Peter Robinson, who is basically the guy that brought these TA2 category, TA2 vehicles to Australia, and obviously looking after the category with his family, Dana, etc. Peter, thank you for coming to the race meeting. How have you been? And obviously fantastic at the moment. The category's looking great.
Yeah, I was pleased to get out here this weekend. I haven't been to the racing a little bit lately for family commitments. I've got my car back from Darwin. I'm getting a prep for Sydney. The cars are looking fantastic this weekend. Some good hard racing. I'm looking forward to the 3 races today.
Obviously, the category is growing at a rate of knots. It's fantastic. Every time you look around, there seems to be another new car popping up. The TA2 car is very relatable to Australia, but affordable, and also you've got a lot of people coming out of other categories coming to your category.
Yeah, the young kids out of 86. It's good to see the young ones coming in. There's some older guys coming in as well, you know, where they see this is their opportunity to get a car with a set spec. You're not spending or wasting a lot of money on development. It's already done. How I've been building these things for 50 years, that's race cars, not this particular design. This is their latest design, and all of the cars are identical, as we've said before, same spec, which is great for everybody. But there's still plenty of things to tune in the car. Sorry about my voice. Been yelling over cars like that. So, no, we're looking forward to the remainder of this season. We're halfway through. Looking forward to some good car sales. We've got some good inquiries this weekend. I think we've sold 3 cars this weekend. So
fantastic. Look, Peter, I think you should be congratulated. The category's just growing, and it's got a real foothold in Australian motorsport at the moment. Obviously, we love them, the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. So fantastic. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you at the next events as we go along.
Thank you very much, Steve. Look, it's a whole family of people here, but it's also all of the people in the background. There's your team at AASA. It's Hi-Tec Oils. It's Hi-Tec Framing. It's everybody that contributes, and all of our suppliers. They're all motivated for TA2. It's a good series. It's not the top shelf, it's not the bottom shelf, it's in the middle, it's priced accordingly, and we love what we're doing, and that's why it's so easy to do. If you love what you're doing, it's hardly work.
Correct, no worries. Thanks again, Peter. Good on you. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, great catch up with Peter Robinson there. Great person who's bringing all these chassis in, and great to hear more cars being brought up.
There's over 80 plus cars around the country across TA2, which is just fantastic. And look, there's such a strong combination. Brad Gardner definitely proved that at QR at the last round of the championship. In the meantime here, we've got some very, very good racing going on across the QTCC field. Luke Beveridge was actually up into second, had gone around the number 39 BMW of Gary Lang, who's sort of been in that second position all through the weekend. But then we just saw on screen there, Lang actually managed to get by Beveridge, who got very, very sideways. And again, look how much speed it's sucked out of the Auto Transport Commodore and how much ground he's lost. And it now puts him back into the clutches of the number 9 BMW.
Nathan Marks in that LJ Hooker Home Loans Toowoomba
But
car.
coming back to the TA2s with Brad Gardner, like that car looked like it suffered so much damage. Chassis-wise, it didn't really do much other than a little bit of damage at the top of the tubes on the chassis. The rest of the car, apart from panels and things like that, with how hard that car went into the tyre wall at 200 kilometres an hour backwards, was just a testament as to how well and how strong these cars are built.
And the fact he did that on the Saturday, and he joined us up in commentary on the Sunday. So Brad as well being nice and safe in the car. So fantastic category of the TO2 muscle cars. On track at the moment though, it's Queensland Touring Car Championship. It's their third race of the weekend there, and you can see Brad Gardner's car now up on our screen. Australian Tarmac Rally coming on to support him in the next coming races there to get him back out on track as well. So great to see some sponsors coming on board. They really see a talent. Brad Gardner hasn't got to do all the testing that we've seen some of the other teams do. So considering his time behind the wheel, in fourth place yesterday, qualified fourth after the top 8, ran his own little race there in fourth position. It's great to have him back out there on track. Well, let's have a look at what's racing right now. And Chris Brown still in that fifth position, and having a look at the back of Nathan Marks in that BMW. He's not going to get anything done there. Now, earlier on, we saw Malpass get taken by James here as well in that Commodore, who did a great job to get past him. Hudson James got him under brakes there, as they always do in turn number 4. Seems to be the key point where we want to see the overtake manoeuvres. But this man, Rob Bellinger, look at him out in front, just in the 72. Just cruising around in that BMW, having a great time. A 120.9.
Fastest lap of the race on the last lap.
Only one in the 120s.
Yeah, so look at the 3 sector splits. The name Bellinger, in all 3 sectors. So outright, he's got a full second over Lang in second at the moment. Luke Beveridge is trying hard. I'm pretty sure Luke's come out of BMWs previously into the big Commodore, and boy, does he throw that big car around. So I think he's probably a little bit sicker of the BMWs around him at the moment. Then you go back to Marks and Brown, James, Malpass, Woodcroft in the Tirana, Gary Anger there in the 9th position, and then back to the 48 of Daly Martin completing your top 10. Just on the halfway mark here, 6 laps left to go for the third race of the weekend for the Queensland Touring Car Championship. And this championship has been a mainstay around the tracks around Queensland over many, many years, between here and Queensland Raceway, of course, and Lakeside over the years as well. So
yeah, great to see him back out on track. I'll tell you what, Luke Beveridge is in third position at the moment, that 73 Auto Transport car. It looks like he's doing a bit of tarmac rallies. I mean, he's sliding that car everywhere. It's like on cold tyres. He's got that bit of advantage, and once they warm up, the car slides around. And we were discussing this with some people earlier. Tyre pressure is key here at this track, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I think if you're even just a single PSI off your mark, it doesn't make the car happy. I'm not too sure. I haven't had a chance to catch up with some of the guys and ask about tyre deck. Look, the race lengths aren't that long. It's not like they're doing our enduros as Marksy just pinches that left front under brakes. That would have been on the run through from 5 to 6. Yeah, tyre pressures are critical. I don't know that tyre deck's overly harsh, but if you're limited to a single set of tyres for the weekend, you've got to manage those tyres across qualifying and the 4 races to have something that you're going to be able to take to the gunfight later on in the weekend at the conclusion of race number 4. So there'll be a few of the drivers sort of mindful of that. And as I said earlier on with another couple of the races with the Replica Tours, you've got to stay off some of these curves, especially the back side of the curves, where you run the risk of tearing the inside wall of the tyre out.
Well, Luke Beveridge was battling here with Gary Lang earlier on when the restart happened after the safety car, but now Gary Lang has just pulled away in that BMW, of course, in the A category, which means pretty much in the open class, and go as fast as they absolutely have to. But he's struggling to maintain the pace of Rob Bellinger, who's out in front at the moment there in the BMW as well.
I wonder if Beveridge hasn't maybe hurt the rear tyre a little bit trying to stay in front of him before Lang went around him, because Beveridge made a little mistake and then he got sideways out of turn number 6 and it just sucked so much speed out of it. And at the moment, Beveridge is actually a lap slower than Lang. So what that also highlights here is track position is all important. If you get bottled up behind someone and they're on a good line, it can be a pretty tough place to make a pass. 4 obviously is the exception, but if you run a little half cover down there into 4, which isn't technically blocking, you can sort of hold some of the faster cars off lap by lap.
See Nick Linton there just got the move done on Darren Dakin. Now that was just down a bit further down the field for 12th position there, the number 19 car. So overtaking manoeuvres happening a bit further down the field as well, and Devitt's not actually too far off Dakin. So it's a little 3-car battle happening a bit further down between the 19, the 99 and the 76 car. On track, your race leader, currently 2nd position up on your screen at the moment. Gary Lang comes through.
That's what 8 seconds. That's what 8 seconds looks like.
3 laps remaining in this race. Luke Beveridge, here we go. Chris Brown around the outside now as he comes down on Nathan Marks, and he'll get the Jägermeister BMW as they pull it up. The WSM Commodore will come up and brakes, and isn't that looking so much more balanced out on track today?
Certainly better than yesterday. It doesn't have that understeering issue as much, certainly, as we saw yesterday. Pretty wide line there through 3 on the run down to 4, but Brown's got a little bit more pace going. He's just done his best lap of the race with that pass on Marks with a 1:23.226, but that's 2.5 seconds slower than Ballinger's fastest lap of the race.
Well, Nathan Marks has the opportunity probably through this back section there, the light and nimble BMW. Look at the smoke coming out now.
Yeah, that's another lock-up. That's not the first time. I think that was the left front again on the unloaded side through turn number 5 on the approach to 6. You can see all the different parts. This racetrack's got about 3 or 4 different configurations. There's a lot of driver training gets done out here, and you can use some of the shorter circuits as part of that as well. And also helps with some of our recovery vehicles being in advantageous places around the track as well.
You see that turns 8, 9 and 10. Like 8 and 9, you're really on the throttle. You're just holding it on the edge of grip as fast as you possibly can go as you go straight into turn number 10 hard under brakes, and that's where the bigger horsepower cars seem to get the run down there.
So Marks has lost a little bit more time after Brown went by him at the end of the previous lap. And Brown now is chasing down Beveridge. So what was the last? Beveridge was a 25.0. Brown at a 23.5. So a second and a half faster on that last lap.
You think with 2 laps remaining, that final lap's going to be super exciting.
One of the Commodores just went past us here at commentary, and it didn't sound like it was on 8 cylinders. I wonder if that's Beveridge.
It might be. That would be about right too.
One of the Commodores definitely sounding very, very flat just going by. The leader had already gone through. There was it sounded like a BMW through next. So Chris Brown's already got by Beveridge looking at the lap scoring.
Hudson James at 68 dropping back through the field. He's lost a number of positions by the looks there. So we just saw Kent, Linton, Dakin and Devitt go up a position as well. So Hudson James now dropping back. I think he was in that EFS Commodore car, wasn't he? The EFS Commodore 4x4. So we'll wait and see how that goes. But here's your race leader as he comes around. We will now head on to the final lap of the race. Rob Bellinger dominating once again as he has through qualifying in the first 2 races here for the Queensland Touring Car Championship this weekend.
So Beveridge has definitely got an issue because he's losing a second plus in the sector split. So he's got a drama late in this 3rd race of the weekend. Ballinger just totally in control. He has dominated from qualifying first 2 races. He's dominated here in race number 3 with about an 8.5 second gap back to Gary Lang. So Chris Brown, one of his best showings of the weekend, the reigning Class A Series champion, up into 3rd. Marks has followed him through to 4. Malpass has now got by Beveridge. So Beveridge is limping around on this last lap. His last lap was a 1:37. He was 12 seconds slower than Malpass's previous lap.
Yeah, and we'll watch here. Rob Bellinger won't need to do much, overtaking a lap car here at the moment. And that's the 202 powered Commodore there.
Yeah, hard to believe. It looks like a Group C replica, and it's powered by a 6-cylinder Holden. It went past me yesterday, and I went, what?
Yeah, Jason Levitt there, but he's out there doing
cool
laps
package.
and having a good time. So he's in the D-class category. So he's still a contender when it comes to that category. Remembering that's the beautiful thing about these races where they've got the different categories is you might not be first on racetrack, but you might be first in your category.
That was Nick Linton in the number 19 Commodore, and that was back in the 12th position as Bellinger takes his third consecutive victory of the weekend, dominating here in race number 3 for the Queensland Touring Car Championship round here at Morgan Park. Gary Lang crossing the line in second. It should be Chris Brown in third, but he was a good 15 plus seconds off the back. Here he is now. That's a better run for him after the issues that we saw yesterday for the reigning Class A champion. And fourth across the line will be Nathan Marks in the number 9 BMW, followed by Mal Pass in the 16 Bastos Replica. Where has Beveridge gone? Because he is plummeting down the order. So Woodcroft in the Tirana Brock Replica comes across the line next in 6th, followed by James in the number 68. I think what you saw a little bit earlier on in the timing was maybe just an anomaly with the timing that plummeted down. That's recorrected. And the number 68 there of Hudson James crossing the line in the 7th position ahead of Gary Anger. Luke Beveridge back to 9th. And then the number 48 completing your top 10 will be Daly Martin.
I wonder whether Beveridge again, maybe with the tyre issue possibly. We have seen a couple of them go down around here. Like you say, especially in that 11 and 12, jumping those curbs. And to get the fast-flowing line, you're actually over the ripple strip going there, but they will cut when you come back over them. They just nick the edge of the tyre. You might get a slow leak. That might be what caused that.
It's more that inside wall, with especially through 11 and 12. Like the other part of the racetrack is coming off 3 to 4, but if you run wide there, you've got bigger problems going.
And let's have a look at the results here for the Queensland Touring Car Championship. Rob Bellinger gets his 3 race wins from 3 races here this weekend so far. Gary Lang in second. Luke Beveridge, well, he actually dropped down. So it's Chris Brown who came in 3rd position out there. Nathan Marks in 4th. Then Malpass will come through in 5th. We'll go back to Woodcroft, James, Anger. Leverage ends up in 9th position there. So he dropped back very late in the meeting there. That's very unfortunate for him. As we have a look at the rest of the people, Gary Anger, good fight back from him after having that axle issue and severing that brake line in race number 2 yesterday and being down the field. Let's have a look at the Hi-Tec oils highlights now as they take off. And it was a start here. It was really messy, and it is Malpass. We see the big brake line. How sideways is he into turn number 1?
Yeah, that was backing it in sprint car style. Wade will be proud of me talking about that. And Bono went gardening in the big Falcon.
Yeah, that was about 3 laps in, but this one here, the number 34, this is
second in the championship. Les Hannafin, mechanical issues that brought out the safety car, which I totally made the wrong call on.
And on the restart, it was really what we saw here. It was a quick charge there, obviously from the Commodore there of Beveridge. He got the pass done on Lang, and then Lang got back on him, and then later on in the race we saw Beveridge really lose pace.
And quite literally a Sunday drive for Bellinger out in front. Some good battles further back with Chris Brown working his way through the field. He dispatched the number 9 of Nathan Marks, who's having a couple of little brake lock-ups on the run from 5 to 6. But it was Bellinger, 3 wins from 3 starts, and that beautiful BMW, a dominating victory here in race number 3.
Well, some fantastic highlights to look at, and of course we've got plenty more action coming your way. In the meantime, the man with all the action down in the pits, Stephen White.
Thank you, Matty. I've got Cam Sender with me, our technical manager of TA2 Racing. Cam, obviously we are looking at a fantastic field here. Not a huge field, but a fantastically, real quality field. What's your check for, say, over the journey of the weekend? What do you look for? What are these guys doing?
Predominantly we look at ride height rule. Weights are a big thing on the car, so they're going to be a 1250 minimum kilo weight when they come in off the track. Tyre marking is very important for the tyres to make sure they've got the correct match set of tyres and so on them. So yeah, but pretty well that's about it, and a couple of other bits and pieces we don't let them know too much about.
So obviously with the reliability of the TA2 car, here's something that's, talking to Matty McKeldin before he had a little gearbox issue on Friday, but it appears to be the cars are running strong.
Yeah, all cars are good. I mean, water and oil temps are quite good. It's an awesome weekend for racing. The sun's out, nice cool air. The cars love the cooler temperature for engine-wise. Everything's good, so as long as they don't bang too many panels, we should be good for the weekend.
All right, fantastic, Cam, and look forward to race 2 today, which is race 1 for Sunday.
Yeah, great to catch up with Cam Sendall, who's our technical advisor down there and doing all the repairs. We know he was a busy man with the crew there, as well as Dana, who drives the trucks around. They bring him here with all the spares for the TA2 Muscle Car Series framed by Hi-Tec Steel Framing. As Wade Orange will join us up here in commentary. It was an exciting race number 1 yesterday. We saw the young guns at the front. Josh Haynes was so quick in qualifying and the top 8. And then what happened was Jackson Rice managed to get an early manoeuvre done on him. What I don't know is how they went with the tyre strategy this weekend. Of course, the TA2 Muscle Cars limited to 4 brand new Hoosiers when it comes to the race weekend, and they've got to take 2 tyres over from the last meet. And that is controlled very tightly by our race officials down there. So we'll wait and find out what happens there. Of course, last time round at Queensland Raceway, there was a big incident with Brad Gardner, who went over 200 kilometres an hour into a tyre wall, but that car's back. He was 4th in yesterday's race, and we caught up with him earlier this weekend. Tough start to the 2023 season. Brad Gardner had a couple of incidents with the cars back.
Yeah, the car's back. Thanks to everyone at Hi-Tec World Super Series and TA2 Racing Australia. Everyone's getting behind me, and we've got awesome new partners on board. So yeah, can't wait to get out there and just keep pushing.
Big accident there at Queensland Raceway in round number 3. What was some of the damage done to the car?
So a lot of cosmetic stuff. Moved the motor off the intermounts and snapped all them. So massive job by PBR, like Pam, Benny, Mark, and the whole team.
A lot of the fans at home saw that. It was over 200 kilometres an hour. The car went backwards into a tyre barrier. How did you come out of that? How do you feel?
I was pretty shaken up, to be honest. You know, I had like Thomas Randall and Marcus Ambrose and a few guys message me and just reminding me that it's the worst feeling that a race car driver will ever feel. So just pushed on, and I was pretty nervous up until getting in the car yesterday. So really stoked now to be in it.
Having PBR distributors now as part of your team has got to give you some confidence.
Yeah, definitely. Knowing that they've spun the spanners on it, and everything's in the factory, the best parts. They look after them well, and Cam, he knows the TA2 car inside out. He eats, sleeps, and breathes it. So it's really good. Peace of mind for us, peace of mind for the sponsors, and it's good.
Damage like that always hits the budget a little bit. Do you got some support for this round?
Yeah, so that was hard. If anything, we were going to call the season quits, or at least this one, and bounce back. But thanks to everyone at Hi-Tec World Super Series, got behind me, and we've got Australian Tarmac Rally and Mountain Motorsports, and just a heap of good people, a heap of local sponsors from down home. So can't thank them enough.
What we really want to know is it true? Can we announce it here at the Hi-Tec World Super Series? Are you on the next season of Farmer Wants a Wife?
Oh, yeah, nah, definitely not. Nah, my brother actually got asked, so I might have to take it off him.
Wow, just wow, Matty Cav. Farmer Wants a Wife. Interesting. He's a great character and he's a phenomenal talent. All jokes aside, the guy has just adapted to circuit racing with no real history of it, Matty Cav, at all. And he's done a wonderful job out of this gorgeous little part of the world called Penola, down near Mount Gambier in South Australia. And it's a bit of an embarrassment of riches for speedway talent and motorsport talent. The great Bill Barrows was recently awarded an amazing honour for an OAM for his services to Australian Speedway as well. Beautiful day, Matty Cav. What an amazing racetrack this is. We have 14 cars lined up for you today in round 4, race 2 of the TA2 Muscle Car Series framed by Hi-Tec Steel Framing. And it is going to be an interesting battle on that front row. What we do know from yesterday, Matty, is that Jackson Rice was extremely quick and got the win from Josh Haynes. That's actually Dana Bullock driving the Hi-Tec leaders in steel framing pace truck. There's not much that Dana can't do. She's a black belt in martial arts. Phenomenal. Drives the parts truck around as well, the admin truck. And her dad, of course, is Pete Robinson, who is our main man of this series. What a great shot.
Yeah, great to see the cars lined up there, and how good do they look when they hit the track. Morgan Park Raceway, we've come out here to Warwick. It's nice and brisk and cool in the mornings in winter, but the sun is out. We've got clear skies, and we haven't had that for a number of rounds because we've always been marred by a little bit of that wet stuff coming out of the sky. So we've got nice dry conditions here this weekend, and so two on the front we're going to talk about a lot is Josh Haynes and Jackson Rice, 1 and 2 in qualifying, and then they had that battle early on. Jackson Rice took the dive down and managed to get the win in race number 1. But look back a little bit further, Dylan Thomas in 68. Will he be able to do something in the CXC Mustang? Because he's got to find something in that car to catch up to these two young guns.
I think the tyre conservation will be a big factor in this as well. Dylan told me earlier this morning, only about half an hour ago, he woke up this morning and said, I'm going to win a race today. He doesn't normally speak with that much confidence. That guy in the middle there, we just saw Nick Bates. Batesy got caught up in an incident yesterday with Zach LaChalpo. As a consequence, Zach ended up with a 30-second penalty and a fair bit of front-end damage. Had to replace the radiator and do a whole heap of work. You see LaChalpo at the very back. What a cool initiative this is. That was Rob Leonard in the 40 k's an hour slow-down workers ahead car. A really cool initiative to try and raise awareness for people to just slow down around work sites and save the workers' lives. And we'll talk more about Rob and Jill Leonard very soon. That is Paul Hadley on screen, a man who's been very quick in boat racing, in Formula Extreme motorcycle racing, and of course is the principal of IES Motorsport, this amazing two-car team. There's his team car, the second one, Graham Cheney. Boy, that guy can pedal.
He definitely can, and didn't he really come out of the top 8 shootout yesterday? He just made it in there in 8th, but he managed to go all the way up to 5th, and he held that position through race number 1. So he has been very quick this weekend. So Graham Cheney just sitting on the outside. Hey, Jackson had to do a bit of work yesterday. He's been super consistent, I suppose, in that top 10 finishes there. He comes out of Toyota 86 racing. He ended up in 6th position yesterday. We saw Mark Crutcher move through the field later on after those incidents. He managed to get into 7th, so he moved up and up position, as well as Rusty Wright, who's back racing with us for the 2nd time this season.
I'm glad you mentioned Rusty. I've got a new nickname for him, Matt. Serial Killer. Now, that sounds really dark and sketchy, but he eats 5 different varieties of cereal every morning and has done for as long as he can remember. He munches up Wheat Bix and Crunchy Nut cornflakes and muesli. He had it again this morning. Every day he starts with cereal. So from now on, he's the serial killer. There is Rob Leonard. There is the very cool Hi-Tec pace truck. You need a bit of muscle out the front of a muscle car field, don't you? There is Jackson Rice and Josh Haynes, Dylan Thomas, Brad Gardner. Hayden Jackson is one to watch as well. You've got Hayden Jackson and Jackson Rice. There's so much Jacksoning. It's like the Jackson 2. It's not quite the Jackson 5. And there is Paul Hadley. Matty Kavanagh and Wade Ornger taking you through round 4, race 2 of the TA2 Muscle Car Series, framed by Hi-Tec. Gorgeous shot from the drone. This will give us a good idea of who makes the speed where. Thomas looks racy up the inside. This will be the scary corner, this opening 2-corner exchange here. You've got to swing a little bit wide. This corner coming past our commentary position. Crutcher there with the serial killer, Rusty Wright. Thomas trying to get by Gardner, and Haynes has picked up a good start.
Look at Brad Gardner. How aggressive has he been to get a jump on Dylan Thomas? He went around the outside of turn 1, but he's managed to stick that there, and Dylan on the outside coming out of 3. Mark Crutcher's held on to his position as well, and Josh Haynes very early on, because track position is key here at Morgan Park. It's not a wide track. There's only a few opportunities for these cars to make decent overtaking manoeuvres without causing too much carnage. He slides out Graham Cheney, really using those back tyres up on the car already. They'll be a little bit cold at the moment. They'll try and wide. Look at Jackson Rice, though. He's all over every mirror. Josh Haynes can't look anywhere. He's there.
This is fantastic coverage from AV. Oh, no, Haynes is off. Now, let's just hope that was just a case of pressure and really having to overdrive that corner, or we don't know if there was contact between himself and Jackson Rice. I really love the camera angles we've got here, and particularly with the drone aerially, but every part of this racetrack is covered beautifully. Can't wait for our live coverage again later on today for the TA2 Muscle Car Series, the final 2 races of this round before we take a bit of a break and head to Sydney Motorsport Park under lights for what will be an amazing event, the 5th round of the series. Wow, now look at Dylan Thomas right up behind Haynes. Then you go back to Cheney, then Rice, then Crutcher, then Rusty Wright in that crew commercial entry. Matt McKeldin today celebrating his 50th birthday. Now enters the Serco Masters class Cool drone shot right there, Matt. Nice job at the moment from Gardner to get clear in that second spot.
Well, they haven't spread out too much amongst the field, have they? They're still really close. I know we're only a couple of laps in, but we haven't seen anyone break away too far. They're all within catching distance here as Rice, your current leader. But look at Brad Gardner. The flames come out the side of the exhaust there as he gear shifts down. I'll try and head into here. It's got to be really smooth through this section of the racetrack there as we head down. The right-hander now gets through 11 and 12. They've just come out of 10. It's a fast-paced corner and really sliding the car around. Now you're going to see a bit of angry driving there from Josh Haynes. He needs to try and get Brad Gardner back, who's having a great start to this race. And what a confidence booster this would be for him.
Absolutely. Just how hard do you want to push with the tyre side of things? The Australian Tarmac Rally Palm family entry out of Panola. There is the Sea-Doo, the Beaches Sea-Doo entry of Josh Haynes, and Thomas certainly looks aggressive. Haynes putting the blowtorch now to the back of Brad Gardner. Crutcher right, Keem, fastest TA2 driver in Gunnedah, is the number. Well, just looking at right back there in the 55 car. Keem in the 13 is 9th. McKeldin is 10th. LaChalpo from the rear is 11th. Bates is 12th. He wouldn't be happy with that. Rob Leonard 13th and Paul Hadley in 14th. Thomas, he looks like the racing one right now.
You see Hayden Jackson just on your screen, Mark Crutch behind him, but look at Josh Haynes, how aggressive he is at the moment there, but he's having to cover off Dylan Thomas in the CXC Mustang, who's all over the back. I mean, Dylan is a little bit more patient, a bit more experienced with the racecraft there, so he might just wait after seeing what happened a little bit earlier, if that was just a little error there from Josh Haynes. But look at Jackson Rice using this to his advantage now, and he's a 1:16.61 to a 1:16.9, the next fastest time. So, and there he goes, fastest lap again as he completes at a 1:16.17. Let's have a look at the replay.
Oh, he just ran wide. Just pressure. That's all it was. Jackson was so quick getting into that right-hander, Matty, that Josh had to push extra hard and just overshot the raceway. Jackson has a brand new sponsor on board here this weekend, the Radio Industries, just on the side of that car, out of a little town called Morisset in New South Wales. It's on the F3 between Newcastle and Sydney. RadioIndustries.com.au. They're an official communication partner with the Dream Racing team. They do Delta radios and Bravo headsets. Very experienced motorsport communication specialists, and wow, he's really welcoming him to the big game with a tremendous result at the moment. That Dream Racing number 7 has all the family here this weekend out of Wodonga. And boy, this guy can wheel. This thing is balanced.
He lives and breathes, doesn't he? Like, he works on these cars during the week at Calder Park. He said, I rarely get home. I go home to mow my lawns. So he's down at the workshop. He lives and breathes. He'll stay with mates, with friends, with the team, just so he can work on these cars and get a few extra laps in there with testing. He hasn't got to come up here to Morgan Park Raceway, but we know down at Calder. He likes to take the car around, just make sure it's going all right.
We'll be having a home round very close to him later on as Haynes has a bit of a look. Speculator on Brad Gardner in that ATR Mike's Beef Jerky entry. And the Palm family on board as well as Castec. I'm sure that Brad's family are back home watching today. Haynes in that third spot. Dylan Thomas. And it's a long way back to Graham Cheney, whose wife Karen is normally his number 1 cheerleader here at the track. She's back in Forbes in New South Wales while their daughter Jazzy plays in a netball tournament, so she can't be here this weekend. Oh, geez, Gardner ran a bit wide just then, and Josh Haynes, the teenager out of Canberra, really starting to work. Now, we've got 3 young guns in the top 3, and then you've got Dylan Thomas. I'm just going to say he's not a young gun. That's all I'll say. Very, very experienced racer is Dylan. Battle back in the field just then. I think that might have been the birthday boy, Matt McKeldin. Haynes, he will get Gardner here at the same spot, I think, too, that he ran wide earlier. So, nice job from Haynes. Oh, Gardner coming back at him. Oh, wow.
He's not going to let him have this easily, is he, Gardner? He's putting on a bit of defence here. Josh Haynes on the inside run. They're going to get a little bit of an advantage there. And Brad Gardner doesn't want to open the door there for Dylan Thomas, because Dylan Thomas will make that move as they head down the main straight. Thomas ducks to the inside here in the CXC Mustang. Oh, no, he has to pull in behind Brad Gardner. We'll get the run into turn number 1. What a race we've got going on here before this slightly sharper right-hander into 2, and round 3 it is all pedal to the metal as they come up over the hill. You can't see what you're doing. You're losing the mirror on the wall. You slide the car out. Look how wide Dylan Thomas is.
Gee, that was really close for Dylan. Those big teeth on the front of the Mustang nearly took a serious chomp out of the Brad Gardner entry. There is Haynes. He's kicked away a little bit now from Brad Gardner, but Thomas monstering. It's not particularly a good smile on the Mustang either. It needs a bit of dental work, I would say, at the moment. Rice, your leader by 4.8 seconds. Just a great race at the moment for this guy, dominating in the Dream Racing entry. We look further back, though, at some battles. Crutcher in 7th, Rusty Wright in 8th, Greg Keem in 9th, 10th is LaChalpo. Greg Keem's 2 sons, Toby and Jay, are racing in Dubbo in their karts this weekend, while the rest of Team Keem, his wife Cindy, and his very impressive young daughter, Leah, who's an amazing Ninja Warrior competitor. A lot of stuff going on, that family, and racing in TA2s. It's just a passing interest for them. Wow, Thomas right in behind Gardner again. Lap 7 of 12, Matty Kavanagh.
Oh, looking in the background there, Graham Cheney's got Hayden Jackson starting to close in on him as well. So plenty of battles happening throughout the field. But look at Zach LaChalpo after that 30-second penalty yesterday has worked his way back up into 10th position. He's had to get past a couple of people to make it there as well, including Nick Bates, who's a tough contender. Unfortunately, yesterday escorted off the track, so he started further down the field.
Word.
Yes.
Good word.
It's a nice way of saying
it. Hustled. Ushered. How about that? Thomas right in behind him. He is the championship leader right now, and the interesting part is that Jackson Rice, as we came into this, was only about, I'm looking at about 18 points behind Dylan Thomas, and Josh Haynes with 6:37 is only about 20 points behind that. So the top 3 in the championship-wise are in the top 4. Jackson Rice looking to consolidate another big chomp into that points lead of Dylan Thomas. Dylan actually predicted by the time they got to Sydney, Jackson would be all over him in the points, and so too with Josh Haynes. Good battle, isn't it? I love this corner. How good's that?
Yeah, right through. They use so much curve as they go over there. Look how wide Dylan Thomas goes. You just see a little bit of dirt kicked up.
That's
off
costing
that
him
outside
too,
right. Yeah, it is costing him now. If you're Josh Haynes, although I know he gets along pretty well with Brad Gardner, you'd be get to his team and go, just stay there. Stay there between us and Dylan Thomas. We need you to work as hard as you can. Look at this, Graham Cheney under attack now from Hayden Jackson, and Mark Crutcher holding out a hard charging Rusty Wright in the background. Don't know if he's going to have it because he got Jordan Cox here again this weekend, Mark Crutcher here, helping him out with the setup of the car. And we are likely to see Jordan Cox in the cockpit again when we go to Sydney Motorsport Park for the next round.
It's a good point you made as Rusty has a crack at Mark Crutcher, the Cappuccino kid out of Young. Rusty all over the back, and we take a look at the IES Motorsport entry just in of Graham Cheney, just ahead of Maitland's Hayden Jackson, who's just picked him up a gorgeous new Chevy pickup truck. It's his pride and joy. Point you made about Brad Gardner and Josh Haynes being good mates is exactly true. There's a lot of really good camaraderie in the pits, Matt. I mean, everyone is fierce rivals, but there's a lot of great backslapping that goes on and a lot of just giving each other a hard time. Let's go down to the pits. Steve, what a beautiful morning for some muscle car action.
Yeah, fantastic morning. Just a quick update for you, Wade. The Rob Leonard number 40 Mustangs unfortunately stopped out on track. Appears to, talking to Cam Sendell, it appears it's had a sensor issue. That's more precautionary. They've just pulled the car up with some whirl lights on. So a bit disappointing for poor old Rob, but he's doing a great job. Anyway, back to you guys. Having a great race.
Always good to see Stephen White down there being sensitive to the sensor issues as we see Brad Gardner under enormous pressure. Now, Dylan Thomas, he's ragged, but by gee, he's putting on a show. I said to him this morning, can you give us something today? I think he's giving us something, Matt.
He definitely is there. Dylan Thomas. Oh, look at the car starting to slide now as we get in the back third of this race too, with less than 4 laps remaining now. There'll be a big difference in what it was in the first couple of laps on those tyres to where it is now. We are seeing him using a fair bit of that steering.
Look at the gap. That's amazing. That's the gap from second back to this battle for third right now. So as far away as Gardner is from that battle, and Haynes is further ahead with that battle, and Rice is leading by almost 5 seconds over Josh Haynes. Back to that battle between Gardner and Thomas, 8 seconds back off the lead pace. Cheney, Jackson, Crutcher, Rusty Wright, Zach LaChalpo from 14th up to 9th in the Tempest Solutions Camaro.
We talk about the tyres here at the track as well, Wade, and we've got to think about later on the next two races. Now, these two are chewing up tyres in this battle as there's a big lunge down the inside from Dylan Thomas under brakes. Brad Gardner will stay on the outside.
How did he stay there?
Really nice job not to make contact coming out of that corner. Dylan Thomas has to use a bit of the curve. 3 here, it's all horsepower as they come over. Look at the car slide out from Dylan Thomas. He will have a crack down into 4 here. It's probably the most overtaking we've seen is down into 4 if they come out of 3 with a really good run.
Brad Gardner is like a little kid in the sandpit that doesn't want his Tonka truck stolen from another kid in the pit. He is refusing to give in. Thomas is monstering him. Look how close they are at that right-hand sweeper just then. Matt McKeldin, the birthday boy in the Kubota Mustang. Looks like he might have had a bit of an off just then. His lovely wife Helen is here this weekend along with their beautiful daughters. So a really great family representation. Matty's son is actually a pretty BAD A55 musician, Bailey, in a band called Among the Ruined. It's kind of like death metal, Matty. It's like, ugh, you know, that kind of vocal stuff. Right now, Dylan Thomas is thrash metaling the back of Brad Gardner.
We'll have a look here. Brad Gardner looks like he's so quick through that back section of the track, but Dylan Thomas through 11 and 12 gets a run down the straight.
Surely.
Now he's on the outside. Brad Gardner covers him off on the inside line, which you think would be the advantage, but Brad Gardner's gone around the outside in many, many times, and Dylan Thomas is going to have a go because they're going to switch back. Oh, was there contact? He slides it out, Dylan Thomas, but the move is done.
Well done. Well done to both of them. Dylan Thomas went, you know what? I've tried so many times on the inside. I'm just going to throw one around the top and see how you deal with that. It's a little bit like the old, it's all right, I know Cole, he always goes high. Great try from Dylan Thomas. The older man of the bunch in the top 5 right now, showing these kids how you wheel these things. But Gardner, again, he wants his Tonka truck back.
He definitely does. I'm sure Josh Haynes' crew are on the radio now saying, get that position back. We need that gap between us. With only less than 2 laps remaining here. We'll have a look at the replay here of Matty McKeldin, though. Matty Mac goes off and does a little bit of landscaping. Looks like he's all on his own.
It's okay. Kubotas are absolutely perfect in those conditions. Very good with agriculture, our Kubota tractors. And they've had a wonderful relationship with the Gold Coast real estate magnate. Oh, look at Gardner refusing to give in the Australian Tarmac Rally number 22. He's all over the back of Thomas. This has been the battle of the weekend so far. What a race. We've still got 2 to go, boys.
Oh, no, wheel just off onto the dirt. You can see the gap now go out between Thomas and Gardner. Final lap, though, as we see the white flag come out. Just 1 to go. Rice still dominant here by 3.6 seconds.
Yeah, look at the lead. It's been absolutely substantial. The Dream Racing team, Craig Scatella, the principal of Dream Racing, here this weekend watching proudly along with Jackson's family as to how this is all working out. Josh Haynes in second. There he is. He's made a bit of an inroad. Got up to 3.6 seconds. He's knocked off about a second and a bit, almost a second and a third off that advantage. And Thomas, he's going to have to run all the way to the checkers before this bespectacled kid from Panola tries to pinch back the spot.
They're playing the smart race, so Rice and his crew will probably be backing off a little bit, conserving those tyres. He doesn't need to make a mistake. Nothing silly. We've seen in some of the other categories, they actually have cut a couple of tyres going over those ripple strips.
Yeah.
So you don't need something so small like that. Makes a significant difference at the end of this race. He heads down the last couple of corners, 11 and 12, as they come through. Jackson Rice out in front. He'll come up over the hill and see that finish line, and he will take this race number 2 victory here in the TA2 muscle car, framed by Hi-Tec steel framing.
Wow, that is just a dominant drive. Look at this. Gardner got him back. Wow. What a race between these two. There's no way Dylan Thomas didn't enjoy, along with Brad Gardner, an epic battle. Cheney, look at the fast finishing Mark Crutcher. He's done a nice job there as well. He's headed off to Nashville very soon as well to watch his mate Nathan Hearn race in the TA2 series over there. As we just see Zach LaChalpo. Zach got up to position 8 from position 14. There is Nick Bates, not been the start that he wanted this weekend. There is Greg Keem out of Gunnedah, the Team Keem entry, just crossing the line. Matt McKeldin in the Kubota Tractors Mustang, who got a bit agricultural on his birthday. Boy, if that's any idea, And Hayden Jackson may have had some issues.
Had some issues there. Dropped right back in the field there. We haven't seen him come across the finish line yet. We do have the sector times though, so looks like he will finish the race there. Hayden Jackson in 12th position. So here's your official results up there for the TA2 muscle cars, framed by Hi-Tec Steel Framing. Jackson Rice, your race winner. That's 2 from 2 now. Josh Haynes in second place. Brad Gardner gets third, and we are talking by 300ths of a second over Dylan Thomas, and it's Graham Cheney, Mark Crutcher in 6th. Great result for him. Rusty Wright in 7th. Zach Lachaupo works his way back to 8th, with Nicholas Bates following him through the field in 9th for Greg Keeman 10th.
So there you go. Hayden Jackson will get classified as 12th ahead of Paul Hadley. And Rob Leonard, unfortunately, he slowed down so much below that 40k an hour zone he actually stopped. That's absolutely showing respect for the safety of the workers. Not sure that's the way he had planned it. We have 2 more races later on today as we take a look at the gorgeous De Beer refinish, number 13 Mustang out of Gunnedah. Beautiful little part of the world. His wife Cindy originally from Tamworth. And that's a cool shot. The flyover, the walk over, the bridge here at Morgan Park Raceway. It's a tremendous vantage point, and they would have seen some ripping battles between Thomas and Haynes. For me, that racing was about as good as it gets on a Sunday.
And then you got Brad Gardner and Dylan Thomas, like that 300ths of a second over the finish line. They'll be excited race car drivers.
Oh, yeah.
Brad Gardner, what confidence coming back after, round number 1 he puts into a tyre barrier. Round number 2 in Darwin doesn't quite go his way. Round 3 he backs it into a tyre barrier at over 200 kilometres an hour. And to come back here and do what he's done, 4th yesterday, 3rd today, he's got to be happy about that.
He doesn't lack confidence, though, even in those situations. There is Craig Scatella, as usual, with a big bandana on, giving his team star driver a big hug. We just see down there at the moment Shannon and Steve getting ready to chat with our top 3. Let's take a look at the highlights. Thanks to Hi-Tec Oils, he was the start, and Josh Haynes, tremendous start. Dylan Thomas really racy early with Brad Gardner. Gardner able to pick up that 3rd spot, and she was busy, to say the very least, here at the gorgeous Morgan Park Raceway in Warwick. I know something's about to happen in that shot. There we go. This is the battle here. Haynes, Thomas, and of course it was Jackson Rice that put that beautiful pressure pass on Haynes to then drive away. But what about this, Matty Cav? This is what you pay your money for, that battle between Brad Gardner and Dylan Thomas. Epic stuff.
He had a little bit of a lead on Dylan Thomas for a while there, and Thomas just worked away at him lap after lap until he caught up to him, applied that pressure a couple of times. And it took a few laps for him to get that move done before he finally came down the main straight and went around the outside.
Just see then, unfortunately, the Stellatech Kubota Tractors entry of Matt McKeldin off the racetrack, and Gardner just refusing to give in. But what a drive around the outside it was from Thomas. Jackson Rice, well, it's been a dream weekend so far. 2 wins from 2 starts. Haynes across the line in 2nd, and Gardner got back by Thomas. Farmer Wants a Wife, you reckon, eh?
He could be on there, you never know.
Unbelievable. Revenge of the Nerds is a pretty good movie as well. Let's just put it that way. I'll see you a bit later on, mate. We have 2 races today coming a bit later on. Let's drop down to the pits with Stevie White.
Thank you, guys. Yes, a very elated Brad Gardner. I mean, what a fantastic battle. 2nd, 3rd and 4th. You got 3rd place by 300ths of a second. They tell me over the waves there. Well done, Brad.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's awesome to be here. Just can't thank PBR and TA2 and all my guys, Australian Tarmac, Rayleigh, Benny, Cam. It's just awesome to be here. And, I can't thank Josh and Jackson and Dylan. That was just awesome racing. He had it over me, but, yeah, little mistake there and just bounced. So good to be here.
What a fantastic confidence booster for you going into the next couple of races and obviously coming back from Queensland. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. It's exactly what I need. I'm coming into the weekend. I was pretty shaken up, but yeah, the boys have given me a great car that I can race with, and can't thank everyone for racing clean, and it's just awesome to be here. So.
Good on you, mate. Well done. And we'll just slide over to Josh Haynes. Josh, action-packed for you, mate. Unfortunately, did you slide off there on the first couple of laps and obviously worked your way back to 2nd?
Yeah, a bit disappointing. Like, I had a really, really good start. Went up the back, and we made a couple of changes from yesterday, and yeah, going down the back, I even took it conservative, and it just went off. So. Mistake on my behalf, pretty annoyed, but still, all in all, to get 2nd, really happy. So happy to see Brad back up here. He's had a tough couple of rounds, so it's good to see him back. Well done to Jackson. And I'd just like to thank my whole team, my sponsors, Beaches Sea-Doo, Chapman Floor Coverings, Herzog Steel, SOS Recruitment, Car Bids, and Elvin Group for sticking by me.
Good on you, Josh. We'll see you in the next race. Well done. Always remembers his sponsors. Fantastically professional, Josh Haynes. And Jackson Rice, well... I don't know whether it was boring out there for you or not, but obviously what a fantastic race for you. You're obviously strong, built that gap, and obviously there's a bit of fun and games behind you, but well done, fantastic race.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, I think we did everything, you know, we went out to do. You know, it was nice having a bit of clear air. You know, the Radio Industries number 7 was a fast car. We've still got 2 more races, so, you know, hopefully we can continue the pace, but I was really good, really happy with that one.
Obviously your consistency, you're doing a bit of racing, but your consistency was great in that race, and it's nice to get out front and if you like, build that gap and be consistent across the way. How's the tyres looking for the rest of the meeting?
Yeah, good. So I was speaking to the boys on the radio, and sort of once we had that gap, we'll sort of just maintain, and towards the end, those last laps, just really look after the tyre. You know, it's pretty hot up here, and, you know, 20 laps in the last one, obviously we've got to make them last for that, and that's our goal for the weekend.
No worries, good on you. See you in the next race. Well done.
Thank you.
Pretty hot up here, Jackson Rice reckons. I reckon it's only pretty hot in the sun, really, as Jamie McCarthy joins me back here in commentary, because the breeze is quite cool when you come here to Warwick.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I was just out in the balcony above us here in commentary watching that race, and it was interesting. It sort of became a tale of two halves where Thomas and Gartner were just throwing everything at each other, and they were both hurt in their rear tyres, whereas Jackson was just alluding to the fact that trying to keep the tyre under the car for later on in the day. Josh looked very, very quick. Unfortunately, that little mistake early on in the piece, but tyre management and getting to the end of race number 4 after 20 laps with something still underneath the car to take to the fight, I think that's going to be the main goal. And certainly in that one, watching that battle for 3rd and 4th, both Brad and Dylan Thomas, I think, were really hurting in the rear tyre department.
Yeah, they were using them up. Great to see Brad Gartner back on the podium after a few rounds where they haven't really been lucky for him at all. He's been unfortunate. There were some issues. He had the brake failure at Queensland Raceway, unfortunately under the tyre barrier there, where they think a bolt let go going into the tyre barrier for round number 1. So to have that car been repaired a number of times now in the hands of PBR distributors, they've fixed that car up. He said it is a completely different car to what it was last time. So great to see him have some good results. Next up, though, we do have the Yellow Express RX8 Cup Series about to head your way for their race number 3 of the weekend. And these are good, fun little cars coming out there where they're joining us here. They're also joining us for the next round of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series, round number 5 at Sydney Motorsport Park, which we're doing a Friday and Saturday, the 13th and 14th of October, under lights.
Oh, cool. Oh, look forward to that. I will look forward to that. Yeah, no, these guys do a good job, and that will also double as well as a national round. It's their New South Wales state round as well down there, I would assume, because they're sort of running a championship within the national championship as well. I'm talking about the weather conditions and how cool it is. It's actually probably a little bit warmer out there at this time of the day than it was here yesterday. The breeze isn't as strong as it was. We saw a frost here this morning in Warwick, so it was definitely on the cooler side, but the beautiful sunny conditions overhead. It's probably a little bit warmer than it was here yesterday, so again, it will get warmer, but I don't think we're going to see temperatures peaking over probably 17, 18 degrees later on in the afternoon. I don't know what the forecast was yesterday. I don't think it got over 17 degrees. So it's not overly hot, but, you know, these guys, everyone and across all of the different classes with as much racing as they've got over the weekend, have got to think in some way, shape or form about a little bit of time management.
Well, Justin Lewis, though, has been the man to beat this weekend. He topped the charts when it came to qualifying. The series sponsor, the man with the van from Yellow Express, he's got a different pair of sunnies for every time he comes out on the track.
I think he's got a different pair of wheels as well. I think come out in race 2 yesterday with a set of Dayglow yellow rims on it that he was very, very proud of, and telling the boys to not scratch when they went on the car.
I think he's actually got a Pez dispenser style for his sunglasses, so he just puts it in and it pulls out a different pair every time. He's
like me. Like
a lot of excitement. He's got a lot of excitement there. There's a lot of personality there. Now, he had his first ever top qualifier there, first place. His first ever win yesterday. He backed that up with a race 2 win. So, yeah, he is really in the fight. Ryan Gorton, who's a previous series winner there, is actually in his pits this weekend, helping him spin the spanners and set that car up. And here it is. The Yellow Express RX8 of Justin Lewis will start out a pole with Tom Shaw alongside last year's series winner, Luke Webber and Terry Lewis on the next row. Then it's Jake Camilleri coming out of the Queensland production cars for the first time in here with Brock Payne, another one who's just joined the series. Justin Barnes and Ben Silvestro will be in the 4th row before Ben Shaw, and we saw Mark Briguglio come out in the 5th row. So very exciting racing, of course. From a standstill start, and here we are underway with racing, and Justin Barnes looks like he's going to push through and take the lead very early in this race, which he has done in the previous 2 races. So he's got to be able to just position himself as they go a little bit wide there, but he can position himself where he wants to be. Brock Payne now pushing forward. Great to see him joining the series. He's had to work his way back through a little bit. Didn't quite go his way in race number 1, but joining the RX8 Cup for the first time in the Maisie Place Motorsport number 81.
So a lot of these drivers from down in New South Wales. Lewis out to an early lead, and definitely not hard to pick that car with the Yellow Express stickers all over the side of it and those bright day-glow yellow wheels. So hard to believe that was Justin's first top qualifying and first race wins yesterday, because he was so dominant. However, the story for the Tom Shaw number 1 and behind, who's now 3rd on track at the moment, was the fact that Shaw was setting his fastest and the fastest laps of the race at the end of each of the races. So his car was very, very good on tyre life. You don't know how Justin was, how hard he was having to push to try and hold him off, but he looked pretty comfortable, whereas Shaw was able to, as he fires up the inside of Webber there in the 26 to the back into the 2nd position, see if he could chase down the race leader. He definitely had very, very good race pace at the end of each of the races. Look how much track Lewis is using through 11 and 12 there, and again, you can see what we've talked about so far this weekend with the ability, if you get that wrong, to maybe do some tyre damage with using too much of that curb in and out through that 11 and 12 sequence.
Yeah, Luke Webber doesn't want to let Tom Shaw get away either. Shaw will want to try and chase down Justin Lewis early in this race. As we look a bit further down through the packs, we just saw up in our screens the Derwent racing in through Thomas Derwent. Back down there at the moment for Derwent in 12th position. So there's still very compact at the moment, only after a couple of laps there as they head down into turn number 4. We see the 85 coming up on our screens at the moment. Of course, that's Ben Silvestro there in 8th position. Look, this one's going to be a great one. Camilleri now in the 82 entry, all over the back of Luke Webber. The Jake Camilleri, racing in Queensland Production Codes, raced a number of things as well, but first time the RX8 Cup as Justin Lewis gets a little bit loose there. You can see the overstick coming out of that corner.
Don't you love the brightly coloured gloves, and you can see how much wheel input's going in, and we saw that with Justin Lewis there coming through. That will be the run from 7 and 8 on the run down the hill here. Look at that elevation change up over the top of that bank. It's the top part of the circuit. It's probably, I don't know what the actual meterage is, but the elevation change here from front to the back of the circuit is really, really cool. It's a lot of fun to watch.
So Justin Lewis in the Yellow Express RX8 entry out in front once again as he uses all the curve as he goes over the top. And look at him. It's a big battle now down in 5th position between Terry Lewis, Justin Barnes, Brock Payne and Silvestro there. They are all lined up and banked together now. Terry Lewis, who's back in 5th at the moment, he came into this weekend obviously trying really hard. His brother's out in front. He's got a previous production car championship under his belt, pushing hard. But behind him is Justin Barnes, who was our championship leader coming into this round, only with a slim 18 points over Justin Lewis. It's probably been gobbled up now after these first couple of races, but he had power steering issues in race number 1. Of course, electric steering.
Yeah, we caught up with him this morning briefly.
Electric steering rack and that, so he's hardwired to make sure that's not a problem again past the plug. And then he just said, I got the setup a little bit wrong with the tyre pressures and things like that come race number 2. So looking to work his way back through Justin Barnes.
A couple of drivers just with some little brake lock-ups there and using quite a bit more than the racetrack than they probably need to use. You can see that debris and stones on the outside of the circuit as the Smart Boating 61 runs a little bit wide there. That is Martin Lyle. I think it was the 2 of David Grice that managed to take advantage of that side by side down through that turn number 7 down the hill. So this big sweeping left-hander through 8 on the approach to 9. And the part of the circuit some of the locals call Siberia, which is ironic in Queensland. We know Siberia at Phillip Island, but that last corner pretty much does not want to seem to end, and it is a pretty cool part of the racetrack.
Gotta love these 13B rotaries as the lick of flame comes out on the deceleration down into the corners now. 81 though, that'll be Brock Payne fighting off a hard charging. Is that Derwent behind him in the 42? He's in the Maisie Place Motorsport, who's got 3 cars in there here this weekend. Of course, Maisie Place herself racing back a little bit further down in 15th position, but rotary mechanic by day and getting the race team out there on the weekend. She does a fantastic job based in the ACT as well. So from the capital of Australia, great to see her and her team here this weekend. Big dive down the inside on Tom Shaw, not going to get it done. I reckon that's just a little bit of smoke coming out the back of the 13B.
I think that was a lock-up actually from Shaw under pressure on the inside from Webber. You got Reguglio in there in the top 10 as well, and the number 95 missing. So there's some good battles through this pack. There's the championship leader going in, throws it down the inside of the Rotary Motion number 29. And can he get the job done?
Yeah, Terry Lewis there. He's got the job done. Justin Barnes, you can see he has gone through in that black RX-8. So the Rotary Motion entry of Terry Lewis, he won't be happy about losing that position. He'll be fighting back and watch everything. But understeer there from the 42, though, as he comes out of what looks like turn number 7 there. It's a wide corner. There's 2 lines if you want to carry him through this. So you can go on the outside and try and grab that one. That's Derwin we're talking about on your screen now. 7, you've really got to get that flow through there. And even without a car beside you, can do that. You can go a midline through there, use all the exit ripple strip as well, and flow yourself down into turns number 8. Wow, lots of ripple strip there. He's gone really deep. Lucky he didn't take out those witches hats. He's up on 2 wheels.
Yeah, I don't know about using the ripple strip. That was using the gravel inside the ripple strip. So he's got to be careful there that race control don't start making calls about track limits, because if you've got half the car down there in that part, there's 2 things that come out of that. Is there is a cone flying across the track. That's off the inside on the approach to 2, off 1. So where's that cone come from? But yeah, there's 2 issues there. You go too far off track, you're going to get picked up by race control for exceeding track limits. The other issue is doing tyre damage to these tyres with using so much of that inside curve and just plucking the sidewall out of the inside of the tyre.
Yeah, the Mankangs will be under a fair bit of stress this week, and the tyre of choice here for the series. You see, oh no, Barnes is on the inside and doing some landscaping himself.
That was the centre of the car down the curve. It actually probably had no steering at that point, because it's all but beached itself, straddling the curve completely down the centre of the car. Probably not ideal for the exhaust system underneath that race car as well. So the 44 using more than the racetrack on that stage, is Lewis just controlling things out front. Lewis, the 29 of Terry Lewis, actually the fastest driver on track with a 1:28.716 set on lap number 3. So he's back there in the 5th position. He's set the fastest lap of the race so far.
Yeah, just got Justin Barnes back as he went a little bit out there on the dirt. Justin Barnes has slowed him down really a lot using that ripple strip. We have a look at the Optus entry. Oh, look at that, sliding it out. Brock Payne in the 81. Welcome to the RX8 Series Cup. He's done HQs. He's even test-driven a TA2 muscle car, this guy, but out in the RX8 Cup Series this weekend, an amazing place for motorsport entry, and great to have them on board. Of course, the Autobahn team Burley as well, sponsoring that car this weekend. But look at the Optus car getting around. It's the 38 there of Ben Shaw.
These guys are having some fantastic battles. Camilleri's right in there in the 82, the Grand Prix Mazda RX-8. He's having a lot of fun. He's very busy doing double duty this weekend, and I think his final race of the weekend, he's going to go back-to-back with the production car and the RX-8. He's going to get out of one and straight into the other one down in the marshalling area and go back-to-back with a couple of races. So Camilleri definitely got some work to do.
Oh, we need to thank, of course, the round sponsor for this weekend, the Grand Prix Mazda in Caboolture, for getting on board for the RX-8 Series here at Morgan Park Raceway. And, of course, our series sponsor, Yellow Express, the man with the van. Still leading us out there is Justin Lewis, and he's got a nice little gap out there as Tom Shaw tries to just bite away at it in small chunks. It's down to less than 1 second now, but we are running out of laps.
Lewis had just done the 2nd fastest sector split, but then was eclipsed by Webber actually by about 300ths of a second. So a lot of these cars have got pace at different parts of the racetrack. Lewis is fastest in the 1st sector, Webber 2nd, he's fastest in the 2nd sector, Lewis again fastest in the 3rd sector. So like if these guys put the perfect lap together, there's a 28.4 somewhere in there, and the fastest lap of the race has been Terry Lewis with a 28.7.
Well, you speak about Tom Shaw coming in the back half of the race, and have a look at this. He is 1/10 of a second faster than Justin Lewis at the moment. He is in the side mirrors. He's a little bit of a distance away, but it's only going to take one slight mistake here. Tom Shaw now hunting him down.
That gap is closing. Shaw, that car just looks a little bit better again in these later stages. We've seen it across races 1 and 2, but Lewis had enough to be able to cover him off. So this could be game on well and truly here for race number 3. 29.07 for Lewis, 28.94 for the chasing Shaw, 29.4 for Webber back there in 3rd, but Webber's got about 3 seconds to try and make up on these two. The gap is down within half a second. We don't need to tell you how close it is, because it is less than pretty much a bumper as Shaw pulls to the outside on the run down through 8 on the approach to 9. Can he get up alongside? No, he can't. And you talk about a couple of different lines there through 7 and 8. There's probably a qualifying line, and then there's a racing line. And I think if you use the qualifying line, it opens up the door for a run down to 9 and 10 down the bottom part of the race circuit.
Yeah, definitely turn 10 is a hard braking point, and it is an overtaking opportunity, but you need to get that huge run there and really put it on the limit. Oh, no! Look at Lewis there. The car is bouncing around over the ripple strips there, and he's holding on to the number 50.
Shaw's got a
all
run.
over him. Does he have it down the main straight to turn number 1? 3 laps remaining in this race. He has a look. Oh, he ducks back into the racing line here. I'm going to set myself up again. And there, look how close he is this time. It is down to less than 0.2 of a second.
Lewis, I reckon, is just starting to hurt the rear tyre, and Shaw can see it too. Lewis got an awkward run through 11 and 12, and Shaw actually had to react and almost slowed him up a little bit as Lewis is very, very wide. Opens up the outside run for Shaw, down into 4. Lewis got the inside line, but he's very, very shallow in approach. Can Shaw cross over off the exit and set the run up through 5 on the run through to 6? Maybe look for an inside run here at 6 for Shaw. He gets a good run out of here, fire it up the inside. No, Lewis covering. He couldn't be any shallower if he tried.
He's going to have another run here, though, coming out of 7. He needs to get the line he wants for that run. We saw it last time around, and Shaw setting himself up.
Oh, sideways for Lewis again. That sucked a whole lot of exit speed out of the Yellow Express number 50. Shaw pulls up alongside. He can't quite get there. Down through the run on 8 on the approach to 9. Lewis is holding on by the skin of his teeth here. It's got understeer, it's got exit oversteer. It is not a very nicely balanced car and may have just overheated the tyres with Shaw working him and chasing him down as the 2's gone around.
David Grice in the smart boating entry. Unfortunately, the teammates were together. Martin Lyle, he was behind him earlier, but he's dropped right back now. So Grice will move right back in the field. Look, still plenty going on here, as we can see just in the background while these two are fighting out. Luke Webber's trying to catch him. He's not quite there, and Camilleri not too far behind, followed by Terry Lewis.
Webber's halved the gap. He's gone from 3 odd seconds down to 1.6 seconds as these guys are starting to tie each other up. With 2 more laps, Webber might come to the party, and this is Shaw. He cannot fill the mirrors of the Yellow Express RX-8 any more than he's trying. Lewis might have just settled the thing down a little bit just to try and get some tyre life back out of it because it looks a little bit straighter. A little bit of a rear brake lock up there into 4 that time, and Shaw's just dropped off that car length, and as he was right up underneath the rear wing of the leader on the previous lap.
What do you say to Lewis if you're on the team radio and you're trying to calm him down?
Just calm down. Eyes forward, keep it straight.
You saw him down in the pits. There is no way to calm this man down, and he will be loving putting on a show for everybody watching us on the live stream.
Well, he can calm down, but the issue is at the moment, I think he's just overheated the rear tyre because that was a big slide through 6 off the exit and used all of the exit curb coming off. And Shaw's just sitting there going, mate, you make another mistake, I'm going to pounce. But where it needs to be, Lewis has got the pace and he's managing to hold on here. But look at the car, nervous under brakes. He had a couple of goes trying to get that turned in. And Shaw's just sitting there going, come on, buddy, the mistake's coming, I'm going to get you.
Here it is, 11 and 12. Boy, slides it in over the curb. Shaw's so smooth through there, but he needs the run, and that's the parity of these cars where they go down, they all run 13V engines, naturally aspirated. The cars are locked up. They're almost like standard cars when you look at them with just a bit of a cold air intake on them. So they are working hard there, and in the background you can see Brock Payne having a look down the inside of Ben Shaw as well, and that's for the battle for 7th position.
All right, here goes Shaw. Can he set the run up through 3 underneath the bridge? Look for the run down to 4. Watch Lewis cover. He needs to cover. Lewis, you're working both sides. He's not close enough, so Lewis still has good enough exit speed at the moment that Shaw cannot take advantage of it. But I tell you what, I know who's working harder, and it is the race leader on the wheel right now.
I reckon it's Luke Webber in the background. Look at him close that gap down.
Yeah,
he's down to half a second.
He's just chewed a half a second out of them in the last sector. So it was 1.6 seconds. It's down to 1.1. So Webber, I think, is going to run out of lap, or is he? He is closing fast.
Right, if either of these two make a mistake, Webber could be in contention for the top step of the podium here. Wait and find out. Tom Shaw, can he do anything in these final few remaining corners of this final lap here? It's race number 3 of the Yellow Express RX8 Cup Series at Morgan Park Raceway. Have a look. Oh, Tom Shaw goes wide. He tries to get the undercut on him as they go down here in 10.
Lewis had to cover. He's got a car length on the approach to 11 and 12. Got to get this right for the run up the hill because Shaw will pick his pocket. Webber's right on the back bumper of Shaw. I think this is going to how it's going to finish like this, but what a fantastic race from the RX Cup.
Webber pulls out. It's going to be so close over the finish line there. Lewis.
Tenth of a second.
Wow.
Tenth of a second. Great race.
Fantastic racing, followed by, obviously, Jake Camilleri, Justin Barnes, Terry Lewis. So Barnes managed to get him back for 5th position there. Goes back to Brock Payne, Ben Silvestro, Mark Bergoglio. And it goes back to Terry Derwent as well for the 11th position. What a race we've got. Maisie Place will come around and end up in 13th position. Unfortunately, Grice there, we saw him have that off a bit earlier on the smart voting entry number 2. So David Grice will unfortunately end up in 15th position a bit further on down the pack. But what a race these RX8s really put on. A fantastic category to get involved in. Of course, they've got the Nankang tyres on. You got your controlled suspension. They really worked them hard, these cars. If you went and bought one of these now at an auction or at a car yard, you put a roll cage in them, strip out the interior, and you go an RX8 series
Go
racing.
have some fun.
Let's have a look, though, at the results here for the Yellow Express Mazda RX-8 Cup Series. Race number 3 here today. It's Justin Lewis gets the win. That's 3 from 3 now. His first 3 race wins, and they've gone back-to-back here at round number 4 of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. Tom Shaw in second, then it's Webber, Camilleri, Barnes, Lewis, his brother Terry Lewis, that is, in 16th, Ben Shaw, Brock Payne, Ben Silvestro, and Miles Bergoglio in 10th.
Thomas Derwent, Jamie Canellis, Maisie Place and Martin Lyle, David Grace and William Ham for our 16 for race number 3 for the Yellow Express Mazda RX-8 Cup Series. I reckon the crucial thing in race 4 will be the race start for Mr. Shaw. If he can get to the front, I think he's got enough to be able to hold off Lewis because that card just was ugly towards the end of that one and Shaw just didn't quite have enough, but that also highlights track position. The advantage of being in front here and holding a good line, it is still pretty tough to pass in most places.
Especially when the horsepower is the same. So you're not going to get that advantage. It's going to be your racing craft that's going to give the advantage. You're going to set yourself up. You might be able to get a bit of a draft down that front. With the design of the car, it's not going to be absolutely huge when it comes to the RX-8s, but you're going to have to use every little bit of an advantage to try and get that dive down the inside, and you're going to want to make sure your brakes are working really, really well.
Well, coming from the younger category, so coming out of kart sport in Australia, aren't they spoiled for choice to go to a bigger category all over Australia with some of these different one-make series? You've got Excel Racing, you've got RX8s, you've got Toyota 86s. As we go to the Hi-Tec Oils highlights here of what has been a fantastic third race of the weekend. Lewis, well, he just John forced Tom Shaw on the race start there, and that's probably where Shaw has a little bit of work to do as the battles through the field. The coolly presented Australian Hotel number 5 there at Canellis in there. Some great battles right through the mix and some passes. They're all having a bit of fun.
Yeah, we saw
the smart voting teammates there racing side by side.
Yeah, we saw them getting through the pack, didn't we? Unfortunately, we saw the number 2 come off. And here it was later on. Camilleri had a great little battle there going on with Luke Webber as they battled out for 3rd position. Webber managed to get that in the long run there. So Jack Camilleri's got a busy weekend. Tom Shaw tried through everything he could at Justin Lewis. Justin Lewis, the car was all over the place. We thought maybe the tyres had gone. He was overdriving the car. It was exciting to watch. But it didn't matter what he did. Tom Shaw couldn't get the manoeuvre to stick, and he covered him off. And there it was a bit later on in the race to number 2, a couple of laps before the end. We saw David Grice spin the car out and rejoin the race, pushed him down to second last. He managed to rejoin the race though in the number 2, so he did get back out there and circulating. We'll get some points from this run, and wow, look how sideways that was. It continued on, and very important for the tyre. Now Luke Webber in the final stage of this, he was catching while they were fighting out the front too. He was making half a second a lap on him over the final 4 laps. And it was less than a tenth of a second over the finish line between 2nd and 3rd. So Tom Shaw needs to watch out for that one because you never know what Luke Webber could throw at him. And speaking of our top 3, they're down there with Steve White now in the pits.
Thanks, Matty. I've got Luke Webber with me. Fantastic battle there. Really close finish at the end. Luke, how's your weekend been going?
Yeah, good, mate, good. First time Morgan Park. It's awesome. Just trying to get used to the car here and a bit of setup stuff, but coming along. Going good.
How are you looking for race 4?
Oh, let's see what we can do. Yeah, look forward to it.
No worries, good on you. We have Tom Shaw with us. Tom, close battle for first place, eventually second, but then Luke's obviously caught you in those last couple of laps.
Yeah, I was focusing on Lewis there. We caught him pretty quickly because all weekend we've been really struggling to catch up to him. He's had a good setup in a fast car, but yeah, I feel like I had the opportunity there, and the TV coverage probably shows. But yeah, we'll have a look at some footage after. There's some pretty questionable driving there from Lewis pushing me off the track. But talk positive. The car's been great this weekend, and yeah, I can't complain. Dad's setting it up really well. Thanks to my team, thanks to my sponsors, Pew Silver, and yeah, we'll see what we can do in race 4.
Good on you, Tom. Thank you. And we'll pop around to our race winner. 3 out of 3 so far. Justin Lewis, and another pair of sunglasses too as well. All good, mate. You got to the end. Well done.
I'm exhausted. First thing, can I say this? My mum's called me about 468 times this week just to check if when the time's going to be and say, hey mum, how are you? And I took the Lorna May home to a number 1. Super happy.
Well done, well done. How are you looking for race 4? Obviously you've had a consistent run, pole position, 3 race wins. How are we looking for race 4?
Look, it's just spooky. I haven't had a win all year, and I've had 3 in a row, and 100% thanks to Ryan Gorton and the Gorton family for helping me out. But I'm exhausted. I just ran 40k sitting down.
No worries, we'll let you take a break.
One more.
Sure.
I'd just like to say hi to all my great guys at Yellow Express. They're the hardest working guys in the business. Download the app at yellowexpress.com.
Good on you, no worries. Got the plug in. Thank you.
I think he's going to be on the app a little bit later. Just he's going to need to take those trophies home. So might get a man with a van to load those up if there's not enough room in the transporter. And that's how he gets all his sunglasses to the track. He brings a delivery van.
Interesting to hear young Tom there talking about some questionable driving. That'll be interesting, I think. I didn't think there was too much going on there personally. That was just hard out, good, aggressive driving. You know, there may have been the odd block here and there, but look, for me, I think that was pretty good. That was a pretty good race.
Well, we've got a driver standards observer here this weekend who we're looking over all the races, so that'll come down and see what they see. And of course, when you're the person trying to overtake somebody who's widening their car out on track, you're always going to assume that you're getting blocked, aren't you?
Got 10 people in a room, they're all going to have a different version of what's going on. I have done a little bit of DSO stuff across both sides of the Tasman, and I hold my hat high to anyone that attempts to do it and do it impartially without, you know, people complaining and telling you that they're doing the wrong thing, because in most cases it's a volunteer role and a very, very difficult thing to do when you've got races talking about other races and what they did wrong, and they've been doing it for a lot longer than you have.
This is what it tells me, is be in tune for 1:50 this afternoon on the live coverage, and it's going to be exciting, the RSA Cup. Let's have a look though. Queensland production cars, the starting grid for race number 3 this weekend. Mark Bailey has been super quick in that Jack Tyres and Auto Toyota GR Yaris. We'll see the start that car has. Then it's Percini, Miller, Levitt, who's been catching him up in the AMG. Jake Camilleri got to turn around and get in that Mazda MPS right now.
This is the race where he was going back to back.
Yeah, there we go. Murray Dowsett and Liam Moyes will round out your top 10 there as they start off. Nick Windsor, Steve Pilkington will be there on the 6th row of the grid. Jason Alexander and Ryan King on the 7th. And Adam Talbot and Richard Shinkfield in the 8th row of the grid. Now, a lot of different cars here when it comes to Queensland production cars. Again, we've got different categories.
Yeah, so this is a power to weight ratio. Standing start like the RX-8, so it's not a rolling start for these guys. So you've got Class A, A1, B, B2, C, D, and even Class E. So it's all about power to weight, the type of car. Normally you wouldn't think a Toyota Yaris was going to be at the pointy end of a motor race, but these Gazoo Racing Yarises are just absolute weapons. And Mark Bailey has just done such an amazing job with this car. Check the start out. We were just talking about it, Matt. You watch the start from the Jack's Tyres and Autos Yaris, because I tell you what, John Force has been proud of the acceleration. He's pulled 2 car lengths straight off the race start.
He's a yellow bullet. Look at it go away. All-wheel drive, and it has got launch control underway. What I like from this is Pacini, who's done a really good job, Paul Pacini, to get that second position in the last race and start out a second, because the AMG has gone past Roman Miller, who we saw with the PlayStation, what do I want to call it? The
steering wheel setup,
the Nintendo Switch steering wheel.
I don't think you're going to see that in a 1968 Camaro, but yeah. The other battle that's been really cool to watch throughout the weekend has been the BRZs and the 86 Toyotas. The Class D battles have been very, very close. Notably, the 17 and the 11 have been all over each other, and between Gearley and the number 11 of Murray Dowsett, who was the points leader for the Queensland Production Car Championship going into this round. They've got one win apiece, so this will be the tiebreaker between them, or can one of the other BRZs or 86 spoil the party?
And let's have a look at this nice little battle there for Trenton Allen there in the 6th position. Jake Camilleri's just got straight at the RX8. The arms will be hurting, and he is straight in there behind him in 7th, and then Geely right behind him in 8th. So it's a nice little three-way battle there for those three, and that is for 6th position there with the WRX leading that one. Now, Raymond Miller needs to watch out because now he is under a little bit of attack there from McDonald in the 69 car.
So lots of diversity across the field with the different categories, different weights, different horsepower, slightly different tyre packages, obviously, with the wheel sizes across the car as well. You look back there in 3rd with Levitt with the AMG 63 Merc. He's had some issues in the first race, trailing some smoke, come back out and actually worked his way through the field for a pretty good finish in race number 2. So keep an eye on the big Merc, but you know that that's going to be hurting on the tyre later on in the race with the weight compared to the 2 cars in front of him and the BMWs around him.
Yeah, Anthony Levitt, very quick. So I love the Yaris. The late model cars like this where they're set up and hard under brakes. All the hazard lights go on and things like that. So we know it's happening. You can see the 86 doing it as well.
So that's the ABS activating. It took me a little while to figure it out. I just thought they were being flashed on the lights. But no, it's actually the ABS activating. Standing from the back on the pit lane and down into turn 1, you can see it notably with these later model cars. So they are reliant on the ABS braking. Which can be a positive or a negative depending on how you use it or how you don't use it. But that Yaris out in front, this car is just spectacular. It is so unassuming, but you can understand why people around the world were waiting so long in anticipation for the road car versions of that car, and there's probably still a big waiting list for them.
Yeah, what really scares me about them is they'll make 400 or 500 horsepower out of those tiny little engines.
They're a 3-cylinder.
I know. But they've got them down pat. Whether he's got that package in there, you don't know. But how quick is it? It's a good little platform to start from. You know, we have seen quicker production cars out there than the Yaris. But if you want to come in as your first time in, if you can afford to buy a GR Yaris, you know you're going to be competitive. Here we go, though. The AMG down the inside, though.
That's a tough pass to make there at that part of the racetrack. And I think the 71 of Vicini was maybe just a little bit shallow and not quite getting it right under brakes into 1. So Levitt picked his pocket and moves the big AMG Merc into 2nd. And see if he can chase down that Yaris out in front. You talk about David and Goliath. You got a 3-cylinder Toyota Yaris and 4-wheel drive turbocharged 3 being chased by the Sledgehammer, the C63 AMG Merc.
Yeah, that's a big difference, isn't there, in an engine combination there. Have a look in the background. Vicini was very lucky for Miller not to dive down the inside too. He thought he could follow the AMG through of Levitt. He didn't manage to get that done. So Raymond Miller now breathing down the back of Paul Vicini in the Team Vicini Racing BMW.
And behind them you got Timothy McDonald in the number 69 BMW M240. He's in the mix there as well. And behind Miller in that distinctive burgundy red BMW. And then behind him, it should be Trenton Allen in the WRX STI Subaru. I'm not going to say Subaru, mate. It's Subaru.
You're in Oz
here
now.
In Australia, yeah, I know. Subaru.
Jake Camilleri just off the back of him with that Mazda MPS, and we were discussing this as well. They're over 10 years old now, those cars.
Yeah, still a fabulously quick car. That car's done a lot of laps around, and Jake has a lot of fun. But how different is it getting out of a rear-wheel drive rotary RX-8 into a 4-wheel drive turbocharged Mazda MPS now? And then there's the 2 Class D front runners, the 17 of Geely leading the 11 of Dowsett. So both of those cars sharing a winner piece in Class D over the weekend. And look, they're right there with a WX Subaru, and shows you how good a platform those 86s and BRs. As a track day car, they are a really cool piece of kit. And you can have a lot of fun across multiple classes with the 86 National Championship, production car racing. We've got a couple running in the Replica Tourers here as well, or just a general track day car going out to Queensland Raceway or here at Morgan Park. They're a lot of fun and a lot of value for money.
Yeah, great to see them right on the back of Jake Camilleri. It's really the pace for me, you know. Obviously, they are great drivers. You see that difference in there. But to be on the back of a car with a lot more power, and although the MPS will be a little bit heavier, it's not going to be a huge comparison difference. I would think the power-to-weight ratio of the MPS or the WRX would be greater than, the 1 second difference we're seeing out on track.
In a straight line, the WRX and the MPS are going to have an advantage, but where the 86s and the BRZs are so strong is in the handling sectors of the track where you're not so reliant on the horsepower. If you've got power down and you can keep momentum up, that package is a very, very strong package, and that's highlighted by the fact. Look, Murray Dowsett, who's an expat Kiwi, he was leading the championship coming into this weekend for Queensland Production Cars as Miller goes down the inside. Was there a little bit of contact maybe there with Puccini, but Miller gets the pass and up into the third position, so he's going to start chasing down the big AMG. Opened up the door down the inside, took the opportunity. There might have been a little bit of contact maybe off the exit, but nothing really too much in that.
Yeah, just having a look, the LKV flooring entry, the M2, got the move done on Paul Puccini there as Miller just ducked down the inside there. He's got the Nintendo Switch steering wheel, big screener, got everything, all the data. What do you say? It's exactly the same as my sim racing, so I can go straight from one to the other.
Yeah, I still think it's different.
Well, it depends.
If you crash in the sim, you don't hit a wall.
Yeah. You don't feel it as much on the
No.
or the pocket.
Fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:24.66 for Bailey, and that was on the last lap. Your race leader in the Class A1 Toyota GR Yaris, and has got a 3-second advantage over Anthony Levitt in the C63 AMG Merc running in Class A2. The X-Class BMW Roman Miller running in the third position ahead of Puccini. This car, McDonald, car 69 running in the A1 class, is in the fifth position. Then you've got Trent Allen in the V1 class spec Subaru WRX. Jake Camilleri leading Class C in the four-wheel drive Mazda MPS Turbo. And then the leading Class Ds with the 11 of Murray Dowsett and the 17 of Ashton Gearley.
Tim McDonald now breathing down the neck of Paul Puccini in the BMW. Can he get it done? He's still got 6.5 laps to make a move. He'll be setting himself up, just trying to get right behind him, tuck in, figure out where his overtaking manoeuvre is going to be, set himself up for that. And he's got a few laps to make that happen, but he seems to be catching him just by the slightest every single lap there. Tim McDonald.
Just watching the 71, Matt, I just may have gone a little bit high on tyre pressures because the rear of the car is a little bit nervous. He was actually one of the quicker guys as McDonald goes off track chasing him down. He was actually one of the quicker guys at the end of the second race of the weekend here yesterday and had a very, very good car underneath him, but it just doesn't look as tidy right now, especially considering how much gap Miller has put on him, which also highlights that track position we've been talking about. If you're the car in front and holding good lines, it does hold an advantage. We've got Stephen White down in the pits. What do you got, Steve?
Thanks, Jamie. No worries. I have with me Dave Homer, Category Manager, Queensland Production Cars. Dave, fantastic weekend. Race 3 of the weekend. So how's things been going?
Yeah, it's been pretty exciting being a part of the Hi-Tec Super Series. The guys are really loving it. They love the media exposure that they're getting with this series. We've had a few new cars, particularly a Yaris GR, which Mark Bailey is driving. He's won the first two races. He's leading this race at the moment. It's the first Yaris production car in Australia to race in one of the series. So I think it's still got a bit more potential from the times he's doing now. Very good, but yeah, he's going great.
No worries. And obviously, Queensland Production Cars very strong. Production Cars are strong right across Australia. Fantastic to see that you've got a great calendar coming next year. Obviously, a few more rounds this year, but a great calendar for next year.
Yep. We'd love to be part of the Super Series again next year. We generally have 3 endurance rounds a year and 3 sprint rounds. The guys are liking the endurance rounds a bit more, so we may change that a little bit next year. But yeah, we've had a really strong year and hoping to go again next year.
No worries. Thanks, Dave. Good on you. Back to you guys.
Well, I'm glad we didn't give Bailey the commentator's curse.
We didn't do the commentator's curse. There's all that's going on in that interview and extolling the virtues of the mighty Yaris. Something has come undone. And Bailey is going backwards through the field at a great rate of knots, and I would expect if he can get the car to pit lane, it is probably going to peel off. So, sensation, because top qualifier, winner race 1, winner race 2, dominating the weekend. has got a chink in the armour and falling down the order. So we got a new race leader, and it's Anthony Levitt in the booming C63 Merc.
Yeah, he's almost got a 3-second lead over Roman Miller in the BMW. And then back to these two. Paul Bacchini is still holding out. Timmy McDonald in the 69 BMW as well. He hasn't really made any ground. We saw him go off the track a couple of laps ago, just drop a wheel, so that's hurting him in the background there. You can see Alan not too far away in that WRX. Camilleri's not on the back of him like we saw earlier. He's dropped off a little bit. Maybe he's a bit tired from going back-to-back at the RX-8 Series Cup.
McDonald was sort of going forward, and there's Bailey getting out of the car, so definitely some form of mechanical drama, you would think. He doesn't look real happy walking away from it, so hey, finally a little chink in the armour of the car that's dominated the weekend. And the first time I've seen one of these Toyota GR Yaris's in racing conditions outside of the WRC, which is a very, very different looking race car to that car.
But that was the professional race car driver move. Get out and walk away.
Yeah.
You got to give him that. Don't take the helmet off. Just start getting the gloves out and walk away frustrated.
We might have missed the door slam.
Oh, here we go, Anthony at 11. Great to see the Queensland Production Car Championship here at the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series for their 4th round. And look, we are loving coming to Queensland. We've gone back-to-back as Levitt slides the AMG around and puts on a display. Again, the tyres are going off at the back half of the race,
Yeah,
like you did say. It's a big, heavy car.
I don't think it'd be that hard to do with a 6.3 litre V8 underneath the bonnet to get the rear sliding. But yeah, Roman Miller is actually closing very, very quickly and has pulled a couple of tenths out of them just in the sector alone. So with 3 laps left to go here, lock up there for Levitt. He's trying hard. He just pinched the right front and it ran pretty deep into that corner. And, well, let's see if Miller can maybe get to him. And some of our other class cars further back, that'll be the unique Mazda 6 of Adam Talbot, just going down a lap to a sliding Levitt. So that is definitely starting to use the tyre up, and Miller is closing that gap. It's down to 1.7 seconds.
Yeah, he's almost taken a second out of him this lap already.
I wonder if the steering wheel tells him that.
Oh, I'm sure he does. He'll have this Nat Soft up there. He'll have all the sector times. My question is he got time to read it? Morgan Park's busy. In Queensland Raceway, you've probably got time to look at that as you go down the straights. Where are you going to look at it here?
A lot of head tilting. Steve down in the pits.
Thanks, guys. I have with me, unfortunately, Mark Bailey. We were just talking about you to Dave Homer, and something's gone awry. What's happened?
Just wouldn't come out of 5th gear, so it was stuck. I had a look at the lap count and thought maybe I could bring it back, but there's too many laps left, and I just couldn't keep the revs up around some of the tight corners here at Morgan Park, and decided to just call for the day. And not sure if we'll get back out there today. It's probably going to be something pretty big, but I'd like to thank my team. Nick Ashwin at NA Autosport, he got this package really well dialed in, and all my sponsors as well, Jack's Tyres, the Business Punch, the stable, and Broken Hearts Burger Club. They've been so helpful throughout this whole time.
Thanks, Mark. I mean, obviously you're a bit disappointed. Looks like the car may not be back for race 4, but obviously it's a strong package. You've been pretty dominant since the start of the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we've had the package for a while now, so it's pretty well dialed in. Yeah, it's just a shame that we couldn't finish it. I would have thought Toyota should have easily finished, but it looks like the transmission's a bit of a weak point on this car. So yeah, this is already the 2nd gearbox, and it looks like there'll be a 3rd one coming. So
all right, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark.
Well, when you hear him say it's already 2 gone, have a look at this. The lead, though, there's no gap whatsoever, down to half a second between.
Miller's just sucked a second out of Levitt's lead on that lap, and again, we could see Levitt was moving around on the tyre, especially the rear tyre with the big Mercedes, so he's under pressure from Roman Miller. The downside to these brand new, very, very technical electronic-based cars is when something like that does go wrong, it is very, very hard to repair. If it's electronic for a start, but if it's mechanical and it's actually hurt the gearbox, there's a lot of stuff that's got to come out to get those gearboxes out, and it is definitely not fix on the same day sort of deal. So, look, really unfortunate because, man, that car's been so impressive. But as a race car, it just might have a little bit of a weak point going there. What Mark's talking about is in fact going on.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's going to be a weak point going into some endurance racing as well, because that's where we see the temperature. The AMG's had that happen. It's been a bit of an Achilles heel when it goes to the long distance racing. Look at it though. We love watching the attitude of the car. He's almost got to turn it in and just get the weight transferred to the outside and slide the car around the
That
corner.
was a 1-2 count. That was a turn 1-2, and it actually got some grip up. But yeah, Miller's right on his back bumper now and was 0.6 faster on the last lap. And Miller's just set his fastest lap of the race at 1:24.66.
Well, he's only got 12 turns left to do it as we head into the final lap here for race number 3 of the Queensland Production Car Championship this weekend.
It's going to be a wide Mercedes. I can guarantee that for the last lap. Notably, that lap of Miller's was actually only 9 1/1000ths of a second slower than Bailey's fastest lap in the Yaris before he peeled off into the pits with mechanical issues.
Yeah, well, Roman Miller's had a quick car in qualifying. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to be on the top step of the podium in the races, but will he do it for the first one here on Sunday? Of course, he waited till the live coverage, is what he waited for, so he could be on the actual podium and get to talk to Steve down there. We'll have a look down here. Does he make a move? He'll set himself up for a run.
Understand, Miller picks his pocket. That was a 1-2-3 count, that one. That was turn in 1, 2, 3. It didn't turn, and Miller has fired up the inside, so the big Mercedes obviously really hurting on its tyres. Not only the rears, that was severe understeer that dragged him to the outside of the circuit, and Miller's picked his pocket on the last lap.
Well, you think Anthony 11 now doesn't need to push the car. There's no point hurting those tyres anymore because they've got
I don't think it's possible. They
got a 13-second lead to the next car. So he just holds in there, Roman Miller. He doesn't make a mistake. 2 corners left to go in this race. It's the final lap. Turns 11 over the curb in 12. The run onto the straight. 11's going to have another go. He's sideways again over the ripple strip, but Roman Miller gets a nice run in the M2. And look at this. Checkered flag is out and a win there for Roman Miller in the number 28. Of course, in the LKV flooring, BMW M2 competition car. Still plenty more cars to come. Anthony 11 in second. Paul Baccini will hold on to third. What a great drive from him. Tim McDonald won't be able to catch up to him. Trenton Allen in the WRX finishes in fifth before Jake Camilleri comes over in sixth, followed by Dowsett and Gearley. What a fantastic battle for them in the D class.
2-1 advantage to Dowsett over Gearley for the weekend in Class D. But Miller, I've got to say, very patient on that last lap because it didn't look like there for at least a third of the lap that he was going to get to him. But unfortunately, it took a mistake from Anthony Levitt to give him the spot and the race win as the rest of the Class C and D runners come down across the line. That's Liam Moyse in the 97 and the 85 of Nick Windsor, a pair of Kiwis there, and in behind them is actually another Kiwi, Steve Pilkington, in the Class D number 78 BRZ. But Roman Miller, well done. Patience showing its virtue at the end of that one and picking up the win in race 3 for the Queensland production cars.
Yeah, Anthony Levitt, I think, did a great job to try and hold him out. I mean, the tyres just go off so early on that car. And on an 8-lap sprint race, it's an absolute weapon. But the extra 4 laps today just really pushing the limits of the car. It's a heavy car, though. A lot of electronics inside of it, and that's what you remember with this production car race. And we've still got a lot of things in these cars. They're not totally stripped-out race cars, but let's have a look at the official results from the Queensland production cars here for race number 3 this weekend. It's Roman Miller in that 28 car up the front in the BMW. Anthony 11 second. Paul Baccini holds on to third over Timothy McDonald. Then it's Trent Allen, Jake Camilleri, Murray Dowsett, Ashton Gearley, and Richard Schickfield in 8th and 9th, and Liam Moyes will round out our top 10.
Going back through the field, Nick Windsor in 11th in the Class D BRZ, 12th Steve Pilkington, and another Class D BRZ, Jason Alexander, Ryan King, Adam Talbot, and a DNF, unfortunately for Mark Bailey, in the Toyota GR Toyota Yaris.
That'll change things up for race number 4 too when we head over to our live coverage this afternoon on SBS and Fox Sports. Of course, that'll be coming your way from 1 p.m. Don't forget to change over. And look at the celebrations down there in pit lane. He'll detach the Nintendo Switch as he pulls that out there of the steering wheel, but a big thumbs up from them. It's unfortunate for Mark Bailey. Whether he would have chased him down or not, we're not quite sure, but Levitt there, the tyres going off later in that race. Of course, great to see our Queensland production cars back out as you climb out. There is your race winner, Roman Miller. Big smiles from all the crew as they shake hands. Anthony Levitt in third, and what a race that was in the dying stages. A bit of respect shown between those two. Paul Pacini and the BMW in third position, held on a hard-charging Timmy McDonald there, who didn't quite get the job done, but it's fantastic to have the Queensland production cars here. Of course, the Speed Cafe stickers on the side, and fantastic to have them putting lots of information out about all sorts of racing around Australia and overseas. You can go on there, speedcafe.com, and check all that stuff out as well. Of course, we'll see how they fare in the next race, which is coming your way this afternoon on the live TV coverage for our Queensland production cars just after 2 p.m. this afternoon. So make sure you check that one out. We can't wait to see them back out on track, and Mark Bailey is the big one there, who won race 1 and race 2 in that Yaris, that Toyota GR Yaris, and having gearbox problems. He said it's the second time, and he could be on gearbox number 3. So very unfortunate for him, and still a smile on his face at the end of the day. Let's check out the Hi-Tec Oils highlights now up on your screen, and look at the D-Class cars down the back, the 86s and the Toyota BRZs. They were side by side, but the Yaris, no surprise there, the all-wheel drive vehicle just shot away like a bullet. It's a drag car at that point. Takes off the Jack tyres and auto. Paul Pacini held off a hard-charging Anthony Levitt early on, but Levitt used the horsepower of the AMG and got around him coming out of turn number 2, which was an interesting point for the overtake there. Jake Camilleri managed to hold out these two Toyota 86s in the background. Then you can see Timmy McDonald was trying to challenge there for third position to Paul Pacini, but unfortunately dropped the tyre off the track at that point, couldn't push through. And then it came down to the final lap between these two. Mark Bailey had retired the Toyota GR Yaris, and then we saw Anthony Levitt. The tyres were gone, the car was under, steering was going everywhere, and coming out of turn number 6, he just couldn't get it to turn. And Roman Miller said, you know what, I'm going to take this opportunity and shoot the car down the inside. And on the final lap, he held on to that one with Roman Miller taking the win. Anthony Levitt in second position there, and Paul Pacini in third here for race number 3 of the Queensland production cars. And let's head down to our winners right now with Stephen White.
Thanks, Matty. You have a fantastically happy Paul Pacini. How was that race for you?
Yeah, it was good. It was tough. I had a few mistakes, but I couldn't have the same measure as these guys, so they did really well. But yeah, no, it was a good race, tough. Track's still a little bit cold, but yeah, the car was handling okay, so yeah.
How do you find Morgan Park for your car?
Yeah, Morgan Park suits my car. It's a good track. I love the little, it's got a bit of character to it and the undulation, so yeah, it works really well for my car.
Good on you. See you in the last race.
No,
well done. We'll just pop around to Anthony Levitt here. So fantastic second place, and obviously a bit of a battle there with Roman Miller. Well done, Anthony. Well done.
Thank you very much for making a habit of this, aren't we?
Yeah,
second
absolutely.
place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the car's been going well all weekend?
It's good. We turned up with 5 sets of used tyres, so we've got no greens. So we're just making the best of what we got. I just buggered up down the bottom and went too deep and went sideways, and he got me, and then I came out of the flip-flops and got it all sideways. I was like, yeah, done. But it was a good race.
Well done. Good on you. Well done. See you in the last race.
Thanks. Cheers.
No worries. And a pretty elated Roman Miller over here. Fantastic drive. We're looking fantastic. We were looking at your steering wheel earlier in the day, and there you go. And it's obviously helped you, but well done. Fantastic first place.
Thank you. Well, I can be thankful now for my team, for my sponsors. That's my second ever race weekend, and I got a win. I got a pole yesterday, and I got a win finally. I'm stoked. I'm speechless. It's unbelievable that it's happening, because that's what it's all about. The win. I'm so stoked. I'm like, thanks guys, thanks my family, my sponsors, Kirk Forks, LK Flooring, everyone is sponsoring me and believing in me, and this is what's happened now. I'm the number one.
Well done. Good on you, Roman. We'll see you in the final race. Pretty happy Roman Miller there.
He's lost for words, I think that's what it is, Jamie. He is absolutely lost for words.
There was some emotion there, wasn't there? That's cool. That's what motor racing and this sort of thing is all about, Beautiful weather, cool racetracks and fantastic racing. And speaking of fantastic racing, Matt, and you and I did the track.
Yeah, plenty of fantastic racing coming out of these legend racing cars.
All right, and
I caught up with actually one of the drivers earlier this weekend, and he's a young gun in the sport. And he did win the Australian title last year. Let's catch up with him. Well, legend cars are the smallest cars we have here this weekend for round number 4 of the Hi-Tec All Super Series, but they're definitely full of action-packed excitement. We've seen it already in qualifying and race number 1. They're side by side. They go 3 wide into the corners. We can't wait to see the action unfold this weekend. We're joined by up-and-coming star as part of the Legend Cars Australia, Ryan Pring. Mate, it is so fantastic to have someone who's only 18 years of age in the championship. What is that like racing some of these cars?
Oh, these cars are amazing. The atmosphere here, everyone works together, and then afterwards we just go down to the pub and have dinner.
You started racing in go-karts. What's it like to step up into an Aussie Legend car?
Honestly, there's not that much difference in terms of driving, but the atmosphere here is so much more relaxed, there's less tension, and here everyone knows each other and are really good mates.
Now, how long have you been involved in racing these cars?
I've been racing for 2 years, but I've driven them for about 3.
And last year you managed to win the Australian title. Tell us what that was like.
That was one of the best moments I've ever had. Like, coming off of a bad weekend, or bad few weekends before that, we were finally able to get the car fixed and able to dominate.
Now, what does the future hold for Ryan Pring? What is the next stage? Are you going to stay in Legend Cars? Is there a bigger picture?
Hopefully, if we can get the money, we would go possibly have a few runs in a TA2 or an Aussie race car.
What do you like about Morgan Park? What are you expecting out of this weekend?
Well, this track, I love how fast and flowy it is. It's also technical and really close racing. And hopefully for the rest of the weekend, I can run about top 5, maybe get a few podiums.
Well, good luck this weekend. We give you all the best, and we hope you have a fantastic time here at Morgan Park and being part of the Hi-Tec All Super Series.
Thank you very much.
Well, he was looking for some top 5s, wasn't he, Ryan Pring? And he's done really well, finished 3rd in the last race. But we're underway with racing now. 12 laps of these mighty little Yamaha engines getting around. The Legend Cars Australia, supported by Yamalube here this weekend. And look at the big dive down the inside. These two have gone absolutely at it since the start of racing.
Yeah, Finnegan and Hogan, Pring back there in 3rd. So Pring's the easy one to pick up because it's on the bright green wheels. So keep an eye out for that. This racing, Matt, this weekend has been sensational. We've seen 3 races. This is the 4th race of 5 for the Legend Cars Australian Championship. And the first 3 gaps between 1st and 2nd, 0.07 of a second, 0.09 of a second, 0.09 of a second over the 3 races, the difference between 1st and 2nd. It has been that close.
And we even seen a couple of them joined together yesterday when they got the crash bars over the top. But, mate, they put us some exciting racing throughout the field. Look at them too wide here, but they look so small when you're out there. And you look at the cabin space when they get in, it is absolutely tiny. It is like getting into a go-kart with a body shell over the top of it and a bit of a roll cage. But as you can see out there, a couple of different engine combinations. Of course, we've got the water-cooled. They're a little bit smaller. They're heading down the 860cc side, and we've got the 1250cc side, but it's air-cooled. Very similar when it comes to the power to weight. And as they get out there, we're great to see all the little old Legend car body styles on here as well. Have a look as we get a drive down the inside here. He might get it pulled up. They go 81 on the outside, though, doing a fantastic job of Scotty Melville. Wow, slides the car out. He holds onto it in 4th position.
So they're all running on the same tyre. I think a Nankang tyre for tarmac, and they can do dirt duty as well, and they run a different package with the Zestino tyre for dirt. So you can do double duty in these cars. There's a heap of them around Australia coming out of America, and they've been a mainstay class in America for so many years. You turn up to some of their race meetings, and there's 100 cars in the pits, and it's good to see a big line-up here as some of the changes through the middle. That was the 16 of Scott Morgan making a pass there. So Robert Hogan's been the class of the field so far this weekend, but Pring and Melville, Morgan, and the 28 of Horrigan have not been too far away. And we've seen some amazing battles so far over the first 3 races. And as we say that, there's a little bit of separation out there at the moment with Hogan leading this race again. Not for the first time this weekend. The 81's up in there as well. And there's Scotty Melville.
For me, it's Finnegan who's dropped out now. He won the last race. He's really been battling out. And,
yeah, so he was
coming into this, he was the championship leader.
What has happened to Finnegan? Yeah, because he was right there off the race start, battling with Hogan, especially down under brakes into 4.
Yeah, he was leading for a short period of time there. So it's good for Pring. Here we moved up into 2nd position at the moment.
I believe Finnegan's on pit lane, so he's obviously had a mechanical. But yeah, talking about the different engines, so these cars have been a 1200cc Yamaha 4-cylinder bike engine. They've introduced an 850cc 3-cylinder. The advantage of the 850 is they're a lot lighter than the 1200s, a newer generation engine. So they've introduced those into the mix across the category to get a more sort of modern package and that going. And the guys with Legend Cars Australia were telling us that they're recently importing another 12 to 14 cars currently out of the US, with the potential of also taking this class to Singapore at some stage, which would be pretty cool.
What an opportunity that would be for some of these Legend Cars Australia competitors to go overseas. A great battle for 10th position between Justin Mitchell, we can see that, who's in 10th position. When we go back to Darren Bradley, as well as, of course, Bolton there in 12th position as well. So they have had a great little battle. I saw that in the background coming down the main straight. So there's so many little battles happening within this class, and we've got nearly 20 of them here this weekend. And, of course, you can see the number one on the side of that car as well. You see them come around. Great to see the Legend Cars Australia joining us here for the first time in the Hi-Tec All Super Series. Look at up over the curve there, and that's the young gun himself, Ryan Pring. What an opportunity. This guy is in year 12. He hasn't even finished school.
But here's another category that it fits coming out of kart sport racing to make the step up into a bigger category. So this is a great feeding ground to go and do bigger and better things as well. Very, very economical to race. I think some of the guys are saying, like, literally through the weekend, $15 to $20 worth of fuel to run in the things. They don't chew through the tyres. They're a lot of fun. Very, very easy to run. And look at all the different body styles. So you've got Chev Coupe, Sport sedans, Chev sedans. There's Dodges out there, believe it or not. There's about 6 or 7 different body styles for these cars across the category. And they just look way cool, way different, and look like a lot of fun to drive.
A mixture of different drivers throughout here as well. We've got some really up-and-coming stars when it comes to motorsport as well, who have the opportunity to get into the Legend Cars Australia. And then on the other end, we've just got some hardcore racers who just want to come out in a budget and enjoy their racing as well. I mean, Shane Tate currently sitting in 7th position. We've got the big number 1 on the side, won the championship last year. Also does Pulsar racing as well, which is another great category, and probably a little bit bigger than these cars out there, but not massive. And great to see him enjoying the Legend Cars Australia as they travel around. We have seen them at Sydney Motorsport Park before as well, and we'll get down, maybe we'll see them down in Calder Park. You just never know where they're going to pop up. We can't wait for them to join us for more rounds of the Hi-Tec All Super Series in the future there as they head down the main straight, and they'll complete another lap. 8 remaining now in this race as Hogan still leads us out there. It's Rob Hogan over Ryan Pring, who's catching him now. It's down to half a second difference as they cross the start-finish line. So we'll wait to see if he can just chew away at that time over the coming laps.
Yeah, well, Pring's just set his fastest lap of the race and took a half a second out of the race leader. Hogan does have the fastest lap at a 1:28.0, which he did on lap number 2. So Pring is definitely on a bit of a charge. A very, very well-spoken young man. Year 12, hard to believe. You interviewed him, Matt, and Harrigan locks up the right front brake and runs it very, very wide out into the marbles. He's been there and thereabouts over the weekend as well. Young Ryan, very, very impressive the way he presented himself and spoke. And you can obviously see that little bit of influence coming out of kart racing, where a lot of these kids are very, very good at doing that because of the media exposure they get and having to get up at prize giving and say thanks to mum and dad and their sponsors.
And imagine he would have only been 17 at the time where he wins an Aussie title. What an experience that would be at that age, especially in such a competitive category. We don't see like 7 or 8 of these cars out on track. We're used to seeing 20-plus fields every time they come out, and sometimes more, especially when we go to Sydney and we obviously get the races there that don't travel too much. You know, we can put 40 or 50 of these on a track at once, and off 33. The grass. And that will be the 33
Chris
entry
Spicer.
there.
The 39, one of the Bond boys in the Weet-Bix colours. We got a big delivery from them this morning. So there's a couple of offs on that last lap. So that was, I think, the 39 Stuart Bond. Yep. Got the two of the Bond cars out there, and there's battles further back, the 06 and the 160. There's lots of 6s and 0s in that number combination. So that'll be Shane Morgan and Duckworth. So there's a couple of positions. The 33 is actually pulled off the racetrack, Spicer. So I don't think he's going to go any further, as Pring now is right on the back bumper of Hogan, trying that crossover off the exit of 4, run through 5 up to turn number 6.
What a slide from Pring. He's positioned the car nicely. We do see in the back half of the races these tyres start to go away just a little bit. They slide all over the place, but we're going to be upset if we don't see a 1-2. It's less than a second.
You preempted that because Pring's just had a huge sideways moments out of 7 on the run down to 8. So, like, even these guys are starting to use the tyre up. And we've talked about tyre deck here. Maybe it is a little bit higher than we thought or knew. But these guys are trying very, very hard. Hogan's sort of been the class of the field. He's had a couple of different cars chase him down over the weekend. Notably yesterday for race 3, it was Finnegan, who unfortunately has dropped back through the field and was on pit lane there for a while. So he's back down in the 17th spot. But this definitely is not over at the moment, as Pring is really filling those little narrow mirrors of the number 46 of Hogan.
Oh, it's a bit of age and wisdom versus youth and enthusiasm here, of course. Rob Hogan, he's been racing on and off for 24 years when it comes to motorsport. So he'll use all that experience to keep the number 46 on track. I mean, it's a lot of raceway that you've got to try and fill if you want to try and block the car behind you. Just a little bit slow down as Ryan Pring will try and move to the outside here. The number 46, Rob Hogan, the block kitchens and joinery entry.
I thought maybe Pring was throwing a dummy there, just setting him up with an outside run and switching back to the inside, but he wasn't quite close enough. So Rob's actually pretty strong under brake, so he couldn't take that opportunity. But maybe watch for that pass a little bit later on as Ryan just locked up a brake there. Back into third is Morgan. Fourth will be the 81 of Melville. That's the 2 Scots.
Great little battle here, though. Have a look at this. For 5th place now. It goes between Goodrich, Duckworth and Hourigan. This one's going to be on, because Hourigan was right in the midst yesterday, wasn't he? And he dropped off towards the end, but he was going really, really well. He ended up with the DNF, unfortunately, in the final race.
Yeah, actually pulled off before the finish. I think he was off one of the late restarts and ended up back on pit lane, so I'm not too sure what the issue was. Nice pass down the inside, though. Oh, he was using the left rear up, trying to get that one turned. Picks up the position, runs over some debris down there. Just looked like something flicked up underneath the tyre there with the 28. So that's the... Oh, maybe actually it's the muffler, is it, hanging off the side of the 160? I saw it underneath the 28, but it's actually on the car behind. So there's something dragged down, hanging down off the left side of the number 160. I'm going to say that probably is a muffler.
Just makes a bit of noise out there. Bruce Duckworth, that is his car. Hopefully that's not going to get him a flag or anything, some sort of mechanical out there possibly. Or if
we'll have a listen coming past us here at commentary and see if it's got a different note change. It should do, you would think. Yep.
Yeah, it's slightly louder.
Yeah,
here we go.
Slightly
Big
louder,
dive now.
slightly.
Hourigan down the inside of Goodrich. Looks like you'll get that move done as well. Can he hold on to it? We see a switch back. We see them with the bars on the front and the back. They can rub and race a little bit, really. A little bit of a nudge there, a bit of tap and go.
Rubbin's racing, son. Well, and that's where these cars came from, America. You can only imagine going to a race meeting with 100 or 120 of these things, and yeah, they look like a lot of fun. I drove briefly back in New Zealand a long, long time ago, the New Zealand equivalent of these cars at Pukekohe Raceway, and they were a lot of fun. Sequential 6-speed gearbox. I could never remember which gear I was in. Get to 6, keep pushing to that next one. Oh, it's in top gear. We're all good. But a lot of fun.
That muffler is just holding on. It's got to be like a spring or something where they push back that is keeping that on the side of the car as it just flops around there, simply making a little bit more noise.
Yeah, I don't think he wants it to come off and actually get underneath the left rear there, because it could actually cut a tyre. So race control might be having a look at that. Oh, Pring down the inside. Can he get it done to 1? No. Hogan slams the door shut, and he couldn't have slammed it any harder if he tried. So Ryan Pring is trying everything and throwing everything at the 46 to get by. Look for this fake move. Goes to the outside now. Ryan, big dive down the inside. Get it done, get it done. No, he can't get it done. That's where the opportunity is, but Hogan is pretty strong under brakes down there at turn number 4.
How much do they move around down under brakes? They are a real handful there, as you can see. Ryan Pring's going to have to think about this, maybe slot him behind. He's got less than 4 laps to get the manoeuvre done, but still a little bit of time there. Maybe you have another run at him coming down the straight. They go around turn number 7 here, and you can really set yourself up. Use all of the exit ripple strip if you want to, and try and get this fast run down through 8 and 9. And these cars, that is going to be foot to the floor and right on the edge of grip. Here we go. It's a right-hander through 9. You can see them lean over, and then all of a sudden the brake markers show up. The 100, the 50, you're hard on the brakes. And look how close he gets now to our race leader, Rob Hogan, still holding on in the 46.
So the tale of the story here right at the moment is Hogan is better in the first two sectors. Pring closes up through the last sector and does actually have the fastest sector in split in sector 3. This time he's not quite as close as the previous lap, but closes up under brakes. Hogan getting the job done at the moment, holding off, and there's a couple of car lengths the difference at the moment. So Pring not able to take advantage with that run on the front straight that time, and I don't think he's going to be close enough through 3. Does close up here though, again to the outside. Look for that fake. I think he's going to fire one down the inside and give it a go.
Well, a little bit of championship playing out here because Ryan Pring is really not as high in the fight there at the moment, in 11th spot when it comes to the championship. But every point this weekend will count for Rob Hogan, who was sitting in 7th in the championship coming into this round. Of course, 5 races they get. It's absolutely incredible from the Legend cars. They qualified on Friday. Every other category was doing practice, and it was straight into racing on Saturday as the rear end floats around there for the 72 of Bradley.
Darren Bradley. So this is for the 11th and 12th positions with the 2. The second of the Horrigan boys in behind. That'll be Josh Horrigan. He's had a little bit of a difficult weekend. He's spent a little bit of time on pit lane with that car. So good to see him back out there and having a good run here, battling for the 11th and 12th positions.
Right, he's at home, obviously. He's 3 amazing daughters that get out and help him with the car as well. So I'm sure he'll have a big shout out to the family.
Hey!
Oh, no, big spin in the background there. I didn't say anything about Horrigan. It was all the commentators' curse. Steve Horrigan, the number 2 car, unfortunately spins out in the background there, and that's so unfortunate. Of course, all thanks to Taylor's Transport and J&B Canvas.
He was on screen while you were talking, though. So
it's my fault.
That's a commentator's curse, that one.
So he does actually build some of the engines in these cars, though. It is for Stephen Horrigan. So very involved in the Legend Cars Australia. So we'll check out a Hi-Tec Oils replay of this one.
Yeah, just got in a little bit too deep and just locked up the rears, and around she went. That's about an 8 from the Russian judge for degree of difficulty.
Former go-kart champ out of New South Wales, title winner as well. So, pedigree within the Legend Cars Australia ranks. It's good to see them being involved. Brian Pringle still in 2nd position there, former Australian champion just last year. The 18-year-old applying the pressure to Rob Hogan out in front. But Rob Hogan, it's nothing, mate. Been racing for over 2 centuries. 2 decades. 2
Yeah, your math's never been great, maths.
No, that's why I'm a commentator.
Oh, no, what a great little class. And as I said, for coming out of karting, I think this is a very, very good step and an opportunity. It'd definitely be worth talking to the Legend Cars Australian team about getting into it. You can lease cars as well. They don't have to own them outright, but they look like an awful lot of fun. And Hogan's having a lot of fun out front. Pring has tried everything to get by him as they get the last lap board.
Well, here we go. Down the main straight. He's going to have it, take an opportunity whenever he can get it. Look behind, too. The 2 Scotties going at it. Scotty Morgan, Scotty Melville. The 16, the 81. So a nice battle for 3rd position. They slide him out, though. Hogan still holding on. Pringle looking for his opportunity. The run through 3 now as they come up over the hill. Is he going to have a dive into 4? Hogan's going to close that door down. Pring might try and do the crisscross here.
Nah, Hogan's too strong under brakes. I thought there for a moment he might try and slip and fake down the inside, but he cannot get the momentum coming down the hill, and that's where Hogan's a little bit better in the first sector split and to the second sector as well, whereas Pring has been strong from probably about now, and he should start closing the gap up, but there's not too many opportunities to get that pass done on the last sort of third of this circuit.
He's going to head down here through 8 and 9. Now into 10, how good does he want to be under brakes? How much risk does he want to take? How much guts? It's guts or glory into this turn number 10. Can he really get laid on the brakes and have a dive? Pring, will he do it? Here he goes down the inside.
He's going to have a look.
Oh, they're side by side. Oh, they're almost like open wheelers. They're sideways now as they come out. Final couple of corners now as Rob Hogan still leading this race.
He had a go. He had to have a go. He was running out of laps, but a good effort. He might get a run up the hill here. Not going to be quite close enough, or is he? He was pretty close at the end. 0.28 of a second. That's actually the biggest distance we've seen between first and second the whole weekend.
Go back to Scotty Morgan and Scotty Melville, though, for third position battle. And the difference there, 0.38 of a second. They're still going at it further on. Of course, Hurrigan and Goodridge now for the fifth position there, and that's 0.43 of a second the difference. So look at how many battles we've got within the field that are less than 1 second at the finish line.
Bruce Duckworth in the 7th position. Go back to the 12 of Matthew Bond. I think that'll be one of Matthew's better results for the weekend. Then back to the 68 of Justin Mitchell in 9th, and the 23. That is Mia Bolton in the 10th position.
There you go, the number 53 is coming around, trying to get past Bradley there in the final stages, the last couple of corners now. As they come through, can he get the move done? Nick Taylor from Taylor's Transport.
42 still coming around. Hardy Martin in the 1934 Chevrolet Coupe. Side by side at the line between Bradley and Taylor. And there was 0.08 of a second between those two at the line. That's the better gap that we need.
That's where we want to be back to. Number 42 then comes through of Martin in 15th position. So 15th position there for Martin to finish the race off.
One more race for these guys over the weekend, and boy, they have put on some fantastic racing. Robert Hogan with another victory for the weekend ahead of a flying Ryan Pring. Scott Morgan in 3rd, Scott Melville in 4th, followed by Brendan Hurrigan, Ben Goodridge, Bruce Duckworth, Matthew Bond, Justin Mitchell, and Mia Bolton completing your top 10 for Legend Cars Australia Race 4.
Then it's Stuart Bond, Steve Hurrigan, Darren Bradley, Nick Taylor out of 14th, Hardy Martin in 15th, Chris Spice from 16th, Shane Tate then. Billy Finnegan is the talking story, though. Went off very, very early after winning the last race out yesterday afternoon. So we're not quite sure what's happened there. We'll try and find out for you. But Billy Finnegan obviously leading the championship coming into this round of racing here at Morgan Park Raceway. So that'll have some championship implications. If you can't get that car back out on track, we'll have to wait and find out. A fantastic category, of course. The BF Motors podium not too far away. In the meantime, let's check out the Hi-Tec Oils highlights here, and the race got underway. Nice rolling start there, and no surprise. Look in the background there, they're almost 4 wide as they go into turn number 1. And Billy Finnegan had to drop in behind Rob Hogan. Ryan Pring then in behind. A bit of a break lock up there from a few of them there as they go into turn number 1. No surprise as they were bunched right up there. And we saw Bruce Duckworth there battling it out with the Hurrigan a bit later on. Fortunately, the 39 car had a bit of a spin there on his own, but it looks Stuart Bond in the Sanitarium Weet-Bix entry. And further on, we had this 3-car battle there, and at the back, we could just see, hanging on, Brendan Hurrigan. We were waiting for it, and he made the move, got that done over Bruce Duckworth, moved up a position, but Ryan Pring in the final stage has applied all the pressure to Rob Hogan, who just was cool and calm and collected under all that pressure. Those years of experience behind the race wheel held him out, and Ryan Pring didn't make it. Unfortunately, the number 2 car spinning out late in the race there. Steve Hurrigan managed to work his way back a couple of positions there in the Chevy Legend car, but hopefully we'll see him with a better run in the next race here. Ryan Pring did not give up, and it was the final lap. He had another go going down to turn number 10, but he couldn't make it stick, and when we saw it, it was down to just 0.3 of a second the difference over the finish line, and the Scotty Miller and Scotty Melville there are running at 3 and 4.
The end of that one, it was basically the fact that Morgan did not make a mistake, and back down onto pit lane with Stephen White.
Thank you, Jamie. We've got Scott Morgan with me for 3rd place. Well done. Fantastic drive.
Thank you. Thank you. It was pretty hard to catch those guys at front, but we maintained the gap and done the best we could.
How do you enjoy Morgan Park with the Legend car?
Oh, I love it, actually. It's hard work, but we'll be back for sure. Yeah.
Fantastic. We'll see you in the next one. Well done. Ryan for 2nd place. Ryan Pring, well done. Fantastic battle. Obviously a close battle there towards the end.
Yeah, it was awesome. We were just trying to get away from Scott behind us.
Obviously the Legend car around Morgan Park's a bit of fun. How are you going to go in the next race?
Our next race, hopefully, try and go for the win. But just if I'm happy with 2nd or just any podium.
All right, good on you. We'll see you in the next race. Well done. Well done, Ryan. And to our winner, Rob Hogan. Well done. Fantastic drive. Obviously it's going well for you this weekend.
It has been, yeah. All weekend we've been sort of up the front, pointy end. So, yeah, pretty happy.
Enjoying the Legend car around Morgan Park?
Yeah, it's really good. The track's awesome. It's a good place. Yeah, it's great.
All right, we'll see you in the next race. Well done. Thank you.
I don't know how he fits in that car. That's my only question. I want to see what sort of yoga he does to make sure he's nimble enough to get in and out of such a small vehicle here.
Here's a challenge. How many people can you get in a Legends car?
Legend Cars Australia, supported by Yamalube here for this round of racing. Of course, we just saw our top three from race number 4 for them, all thanks to BF Motors. And look, a big thumbs up from Rob Hogan, who's got himself a whole list of wins. Billy Finnegan was the only one who put a damper on a clean sweep for the weekend so far. They got one more race though this afternoon coming through in our live coverage on SBS and Fox Sports, and they will be back out with the Legend Cars just after 2:30 this afternoon, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. We're here at Morgan Park Raceway. We're just a couple of hours west of Brisbane itself, and
look at that
been absolutely glorious weather this weekend, hasn't it?
Very, very cold in the mornings, but as a Kiwi, that's not so much of a problem for me. And there's a few Kiwis down there in the pit lane, and all the Aussies are laughing at because they're wearing shorts and a T-shirt. But, yeah, look, absolutely stunning weather this weekend. Of course, how could it not be in Queensland? What was the weather like when you left Canberra, Matt?
Oh, it was bit chillier than this. It wasn't
raining, I believe.
It wasn't going over 10, that's for sure. We've got beautiful sunshine here in Queensland, like you always do at Morgan Park Raceway. We need to thank the venue themselves, who have been very good at getting prepared for this weekend, and it's spectacular looking when we've had those aerial shots as well, and all the bushland surrounding us. We've come up through the hills. It was such a fantastic drive to come out here. It's a bit of an experience, and Warwick, the town itself, you can go out there and have a bit of a beverage at a night time and a good feed down here. It seems like it's a bit of a cattle country here because the steaks are pretty good as well.
Had a nice steak at the RSL last night. I was definitely not complaining about the steak that was delivered, and a couple of wee lemonades on the side.
So we're having a fantastic time here in Warwick. It's round number 4 of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. We're at Morgan Park Raceway. Next up, we are going to be having the Australian Trans Am coming out. We caught up with some of our Replica Tourer drivers. One in particular was Jordan Walker. Replica touring car category here at Queensland is a very fast-growing category with over 30 cars at most race meets. We caught up with some of the up-and-coming rising stars. One of those is Jordan Walker. Welcome to Morgan Park Raceway.
Thank you.
Replica Tourers is a growing category here in Queensland, and so many new competitors, including Jordan Walker. Now, your family's got a big history in racing. How did you get involved in the Replica Tourers?
I got involved through my dad. He's had a lot of racing experience, and he got me into go-karting when I was younger, and then obviously Dad got into it, so then I wanted to have a go, so then Dad chucked me in this one. The Replica Tourers, we started when they were quite small, but they've grown into such a big, big category now, so it's been good.
And how do you like the category? How do you find the other competitors, and what's it like just being part of such a big group of racers?
It's been amazing. The guys have been so supportive, they've taken me in so well. They've given me heaps of advice, and it's just been an amazing experience.
And you're not the only one in the family that's getting into racing. Your little sister is getting involved as well, and are you mentoring her a bit?
I am. I'm trying to give her a couple, little tips here and there, so when she does eventually maybe start racing next year, she'll be good.
Not just your immediate family you're here racing with this weekend, also your partner's here as well. Hunter, do you want to come over here, mate? Now, did you guys meet racing, or has this happened somewhere else?
No, it happened somewhere else, but I did get him into racing.
Hunter, look, you've been lured into this. What was it for you that brought you to Replica Tourers?
I was pit crew for about a year and a half, just always on the sidelines, and I thought, I want to jump in and get along with her and have some fun.
When we're on the racetrack, do you have to give her a position?
I cannot disclose that.
So there are some team orders, is what we're saying.
Yes, there are.
Look, it's lovely seeing your smiles. Replica Tour is a really strong category. We hope to see you very shortly.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
And good luck this weekend. Yeah, great to catch up with Jordan Walker. Unfortunately, that car has come to a few gremlins where it keeps going into limp mode, and so they can't rev the vehicle. And they were working on that tirelessly. Her dad, a former champion when it comes to other categories here in Queensland, and he was so disappointed that that car was playing up. But they've got lots more going on in the background. Unfortunately, their Commodore there, supported by Burson's Auto Parts recently as well, hasn't made it out for racing today. Possibly we might see it in the final race. You never know. You never give up as a racing family, do you?
No, absolutely not. And that's one of the cool things about motorsport. You know, never give up. You know, you could be looking at destroyed race cars and things like that, but at the end of the day, a lot of the other teams in the category will get around you and help you out. And you see that across everything from kart sport to speedway, circuit racing, power, but just every drag racing, every form of motorsport that I've ever been involved in. The camaraderie across the pits, yeah, they want to go out and rip each other's heads off, you know, being competitive, but if something goes wrong, it's usually the other teams are the first to sort of chip in and help out. And there's been a lot of that around this weekend, especially here in Warwick, where you've got, you know, some local businesses that are the best at what they are at just about in the world, with Mel Wood with gearboxes and transmissions. They do a lot of their own in-house building here in Warwick. They're very, very big, advertised nationally. You know, they're importing products out of, you know, all over the world, and they've been called on this weekend for more than one thing, for, you know, across a couple of the different categories.
Great to see so many of their friends, supporters and fans here at the Raceway for the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series round number 4. What we did see before was the Morgan Park Raceway Bridge, which is a unique opportunity to actually go into the middle of the racetrack and view from there. And there's probably only right down in turn number 10 where you struggle to see any of the racing when you stand in the middle. So very unique. We don't see all the tracks in Australia where you have so much viewing opportunity.
Even Race Control struggles to see turn number 10, and it's actually the trees in front of that particular corner from where we are. So we're actually a little bit disjointed where we are in what is the commentary tower in Race Control, which is not actually on pit lane, which is usually where commentary / race control is. So we're a little bit disjointed, so it is a little bit unique to be doing what we're doing from where we're at and actually not be down in the hive of activity down on pit lane. But yeah, if you can get through to the inside of the circuit over the bridge, there are some pretty cool viewing spots down here on the infield at Morgan Park Raceway, and it's a pretty cool facility that's used a lot during the week for a lot of driver training with the different circuit layouts here. So yeah, pretty cool to come and be a part of this for the first time at Morgan Park. And we're not alone as we go to the start of race number 4 for the Australian Trans Am class. John English starting off the pole. Alongside will be his son Sean English, back to John Prefontaine, Mark Spencer, Ian Palmer and Trisha Chan. Missing off that grid lineup looks to be Alwyn Bishop, who may have had some issues with that unique Plymouth Duster. So had some issues at the start of race number 3 for the weekend, so it doesn't look like we're going to see Alwyn out there. He was pretty dominant at QR at the previous round of this series, winning 4 out of 5 races.
It was a very close encounter, and I think Johnny English just letting his son catch up a little bit towards the finish line there. It was close already there, but he just backed off a little bit to tease him there, as we saw. That was down to just 1/10 of a second between those two over the finish line. So we'll wait and see what the father-son combination are going to do in this race. We'll have to wait and find out. The Australian Trans Ams now coming on to you. They kicked off our coverage this morning on the live stream as well. The rumble as they drove out just before we opened it up, and we could hear them purring around here so nicely. And like you say, a 6-litre category and a 5-litre category when it comes to this racing. Not much difference in the 6-litre category. Gets themselves a little bit of a weight disadvantage, where we see a little bit more torque maybe out of those 6 litres. But the 5 litres, the RPM they can pull, they sound so sweet. Coming up turn number 3, and here we are, rolling start now as they get underway once again. And will it be Johnny, the father, as he's got the inside line into turn number 1. He just shuts the door on his son, but John Prefontaine might take advantage of this in the Mustang, and he doesn't quite get it done.
Yeah, he just got the nose cut off there. Yeah, Johnny wasn't overly sympathetic there for Sean, because he nearly opened up the inside door for Prefontaine to go up the inside on his own team car. So might be a little discussion post-race about that one. Sean's going to try and come back at him under brakes down into 4, but yeah, look, you're talking 6-litre versus 5-litre across those two cars. They are very, very different. Advantages, disadvantages with weight, but boy, I tell you what, in this class, I don't think there's been too many people that have done more laps than John English over the years in a lot of different forms of motorsport. Remembering that he has come out of retirement to buy his old race car back again and get back into it here at Morgan Park.
Well, there's no reason he shouldn't have. He's won every race this weekend, holding out his up-and-coming star of a son there, Sean English, who hasn't been able to get the manoeuvre done. Ian Palmer's car looks absolutely gorgeous, doesn't it? The orange car under the sun here at Morgan Park. It goes by. This is another one of these beautiful cars. They're actually building a new one as well. Come out on
yeah, so the Palmer team, I mean, Ian's been around motorsport for so many years, and he's done a lot of laps and different things as well. They actually knocked the front splitter off this car earlier on in the weekend in practice. Did a little bit of damage, and he's had some engine issues. The car sounded very, very flat at one stage yesterday afternoon, where it maybe had dropped a cylinder. I don't know if it was an oil lead or something like that off it, but Ian was notably off his regular pace with the car. But they are building a new 5-litre Trans Am Firebird, just to take advantage of a little bit less weight and try and build a very, very strong engine to take it to the 6-litre boys. And remembering that there are a few cars still left around in the garages that haven't made it here this weekend. Peter Scholten, AMX Jammer, which is a fantastic race car. Disappointing not to see Pete out of this weekend. Anthony Ken Tenkate in the Green Mustang, who's been one of the series regulars as well. So I think a few of these guys, got businesses, they're pretty busy and just couldn't get the time away to be able to come and race here this weekend. And what has been a pretty amazing weekend across all of the classes. Sean English with a lock up there on the right front, lost a little bit of ground to Dad on that one. I think getting to John is one thing, getting by him, that multiplies by about 10 times as difficult if Sean got the opportunity to pass the old boy.
After that race start, I think it's near impossible.
Yeah.
There was no love lost between family there, I can tell you. Dad is still king.
He definitely rolled Sean a little bit up the racetrack to take that. Well, the inside line was there, but it was actually getting filled by the number 21 white Mustang right there of John Prefontaine. And you talk about sounds. That car sounds absolutely ungodly. It's called. English is trying hard because he's locked up another brake on the approach to 11 and 12. Mark Spencer there in that beautifully presented blue number 44 Mustang. It doesn't get any worse saying that.
I think Sean English might actually have an issue with this car because Prefontaine has not got this close to him the entire weekend, and he is right on the back splitter now. Look at it. Underneath the back of the car, right behind him is Mark Spencer as well. So 3 cars now battling down to second position as they come up the hill through turn 3, down into 4, and the brakes are nice. What will Sean do? The car up, doesn't pinch then.
Got it that right. It got it right that time, but just on turn. On turn, and it wasn't very good, but it wasn't good on exit there with a big slide under power. So that's a 5-litre car being chased by another 5-litre Mustang. The Spencer Mustang there in the 44 is a 6-litre car, I think running out at about 5.8 litres. So that'll be carrying a little bit more weight. And at this stage of the weekend, the Hoosier tyres are starting to hurt. They've gone through qualifying, they've gone through 3 races. Not super hot conditions, but these cars are on the heavier side, older technology, but that's what the class is all about, celebrating the memories of Trans Am racing in America in the heyday in the late 60s and early 70s, where some of the big names of American motorsport were celebrated racing this style of car.
Oh, I just seen a glimpse of John Prefontaine sliding the Mustang around there, the number 21.
Look how much ground he lost to English with that moment, and even Spencer's having his own little issues there out of turn number 12. And now we see a little bit of separation between English, Prefontaine and Spencer, whereas the start of the previous lap, they were nose to tail.
Might be seeing a little bit of actual temperature coming into the tyre there for Sean English. He might have got the pressures wrong. They set this car up there as our race leader. Johnny English goes through the number 11 as well.
That's such a great shot. That's such a great shot off the wall there at 3. Just shows you how close they do get on the apex of that sweeping left-hander. Prefontaine closes back up under brakes on Sean English down into turn number 4. John English with the fastest lap of the race at 1:25.48. That race car has won an awful lot of races. English again pinches that right front. What tends to happen if you get a big enough drag on it, pinching the brake, it'll keep picking up on that same spot when it returns to that part of the tyre. So Sean's got to be a little bit careful. He actually had a tyre going down at the end of race number 1, and when the car came into the pity area, it was completely flat. All the air had gone to the top.
Well, that's not good. Well, hopefully he hasn't had that same issue here in race number 4 of the Australian Trans Am category here this weekend. It's their last race out on track.
They got a nice early finish to the weekend. They can get packed up and go sit on the hill and watch some TA2s.
That's exactly right. They got a nice little lunch break to get their position ready for the TA2 muscle cars framed by Hi-Tec steel framing to come your way. Of course, we do change over at 1 p.m. to SBS and Fox Sports. It's not too far away.
Prefontaine trying to get a run here on English. So English, a couple of little mistakes with brake lockups, and Prefontaine's all over the back. 2 very different approach lines into turn number 1 that time. And you can see how much more of the racetrack that Sean's having to use. Prefontaine is a little bit tidier, but at the moment with track position, he's really going to have to force the issue or wait for a bigger mistake from Sean English to take advantage and get up into that second position. It might be here at turn 4.
He allows him a little bit of room too. English goes on the wide line. He'll be down the inside here on Prefontaine though.
You really don't want to be trading paint with these race cars. Prefontaine out in the dirty stuff on the approach to the inside. Look at the flash of flame out the left side exhaust. Nice pass. Prefontaine on the dirty side of the racetrack got it done as English again stepped out sideways under acceleration, drops back to third, but Prefontaine with that huge flash of flame out the exhaust. That is pretty cool to watch.
You'd expect now that John Prefontaine will start to stretch the legs a little bit and get away from Sean English, so it won't be a 1-2 for all the races from the father-son combination. Still John English out in the lead. He's looking very dominant at the moment. A 1:25.48 is the fastest lap of the race set by English himself, and he's got sector 1, 2 and 3 fastest times as well. So he may just be backing off and rolling through this, just taking it nice, sedate, getting through the lines, just keeping the car rolling, and I'm sure they're checking the lap times from their competitors there to make sure they're matching those. It just goes through for a 1:26.7. 1:27.3 though for Prefontaine, but with that overtake manoeuvre you'd expect it to be a little bit slower.
Well, he did his best lap, Prefontaine, on the previous lap at a 1:26.1, so he was only 2 tenths slower, and as we say that, he's just had a huge sideways moment. And look at the gap close as he's trying to get the momentum back up. English might have an opportunity to sneak back down the inside here. John's filling the racetrack and running it right down the centre on the approach to 4, so just narrows that approach line, and English can't take advantage of it. But Spencer's now closed back up. A little bit of a step sideways and a four-wheel drift there from Spencer in the blue number 44 Mustang, as the 3 Mustangs are right on top of each other now, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. I was about to say earlier on, as again, English sideways. Is he firing up the inside? No, not quite. You don't want to be trading paint with these race cars because they are very, very valuable and they are harder to get parts for these days.
Big dive down the inside there through turn number 8 for Spencer, and he'll get the move done on Sean English, who's really struggling with that car at the moment. We haven't seen the slide around that much all weekend, but it's just really hard to find some grip on those tyres. May have missed the tyre pressures setting up for this race. Prefontaine now will start to drive away, and he's trying to close down that gap to John English, who's leading, but I feel like Johnny's just got a bit in the bank there. Whenever he needs to, pull that out to stretch the legs a little bit more in the Trans Am.
Very cool looking race car. Yeah, Johnny's just in cruise mode. Like, Prefontaine will probably get closer to him, and we've only got 4 laps left to go here in this final race of the weekend for Australian Trans Am. But it's been a good battle for that 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and back in behind them we've got Ian Palmer and Trisha Chan. English, a little bit of turn and understeer. You just heard the chirp in the effects mic from that one, so Johnny might be trying a little bit harder on this lap. Oh, Spencer, he ran wide, and English has gone back around him to get up into that 3rd position. So Spencer making the mistake this time, and that was, I think, out of turn number 4, just got out in the gravel, in the dirty stuff, and sucked all the exit speed out of it. Prefontaine with about 3 car lengths advantage over Spencer, English and Spencer for that battle for 3rd and 4th.
Well, we'll watch the run as they go down here through turn 8, the left-hander. Right-hander now, right on the limit of traction. He's got to control that throttle modulated. Deceleration. That we love from John Prefontaine. The flames that come out of it. Whatever tune he's got in that car, we absolutely love it. Imagine what that will be like under lights.
Oh, yeah, no, that'll be... Oh, English has pinched another break, and he was sideways out of turn number 10. So, yeah, that's really hurting the tyre, and it brings Spencer back into the mix with 3 laps left to go here. Prefontaine, his last lap was a 26.8 versus a 26.7 for English. Sean English has actually just done his fastest lap of the race at a 26.7. So he's just matched actually Johnny English's last lap. So as hard as he's driving the thing and as ugly as it looks at the moment, Sean English has actually got a little bit of car speed.
Well, he's trying to find it everywhere. Right? He's probably using the most amount of racetrack at the moment.
Yeah, there's a couple of places there he's made 2.6 kilometres and probably closer to 3.2 kilometres around Morgan Park. It had horrific understeer on turn in there. You could see it, and that was like the Mercedes earlier on. Get it turned, 1, 2, grip.
He's going to have to watch out, though. Spencer all over the back and down the 44 Mustang. Sets up on the outside.
Spencer actually got on the brakes there through on the approach to 8, like English maybe dropped a gear or something and slowed up because Spencer was on the brakes to stop running into the back of him.
Oh, you can hear the tyres screeching as they go around turn number 10.
The Hoosiers are screaming. Oh, that wasn't a scream. That was just a flat-out drag. And it's that right front again. And I think it keeps picking up on a potential flat spot there for English, who comes under the attention of Spencer, who goes to the outside, pulls up alongside. English has got the more fancied inside line on the approach to 1. Can Spencer cross them over? Sneak up the inside to 2? Not quite.
Well, it's only going to wait for a moment there for Sean English to make another mistake. Like you say, if there's a flat spot on that tyre, it's going to keep grabbing it every time he's on the brake. So you just apply that pressure in the final 2 laps of this race. Could see another lock-up of that, but Spencer's going to have to be wary of it, because if he's behind him, he's going to have to move over very, very quickly.
Yeah, Spencer's got his own dramas going on, because he was very, very wide through 3, and it's just had exit oversteer and lit up the rears off 4, and it actually left a couple of black tyre marks. Oh, English couldn't get it turned, couldn't get it stopped. I think Spencer's actually got out of the throttle there and gone, well, hey, no, I don't want to be a part of that. So Sean's got his hands full on it, a whole lot of different ways going on here with the race car and Spencer filling his mirrors. But I think that was sort of a throw out the air brakes from Spencer to not get into the back of English, who'd had all sorts of things going wrong down there at that corner.
Well, this is what we're watching. 3rd place battle at the moment. Sean English still holding out Mark Spencer. Only just as Sean English has absolutely nothing left on these tyres. It's sliding around.
Yeah, it's got
locking up under brake.
It's
got understeer. It's got oversteer. It's got everything. Mark Spencer's looks like a balanced car compared to Sean English at the moment.
But I think Mark's sort of carrying a few little issues himself, because it's definitely got some exit oversteer. It's leaving black trails on acceleration out of turn number 4. Final lap, Johnny English looking for the clean sweep for the weekend in Australian Trans Am. John Prefontaine looking for his best result with a 2nd place finish here in this entertaining battle for 3rd. See if Sean English can get it stopped down the hill into 4 this time. He's gone narrow, just covering the middle. Spencer had a little half thought about an inside run, but couldn't take advantage of it. As we go back to the race leader with a 2.7 second advantage over John Prefontaine, and Johnny English just cruising to get the car to the end of the Performance Tower higher Pontiac Firebird.
You can see it there. Still a little bit of understeer now creeping in for Johnny English, but he's got a nice 3-second bump.
I think that's one of the inherent things with these race cars. A lot of the drivers will drive them on turn and understeer. They do prefer it. Some of the guys will drive it on the rear tyre, not so liking the understeer so much, but it is a nature of the category, the type of car, the tyre that they're running on, to make it a little bit of fun. To watch these cars just in a straight line and not getting sideways is nowhere near as much fun as Ian Palmer's just pulled off to the inside of the circuit, so he's got some continuing issues there in that beautiful orange number 20 Pontiac Trans Am Firebird.
Well, we're down to the final couple of corners, and Johnny English, clean sweep of the weekend here at the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series for the Australian Trans Am. John Prefontaine will end up in 2nd position. Sean English holding off Mark Spencer as they chase each other across the line, and that's only got 0.4 of a second between those two, and wasn't that exciting to watch for the final moments of the race. Well, the final 4 or 5 laps, really, they exchanged that position there, and then we thought, Sean English can't hold on to this. The tyres are completely shot.
As hard as they both worked, I think they would have enjoyed that as a battle in amongst themselves, and there is Ian Palmer. He has actually stopped on the inside of the circuit down on the approach to 11-12. This is Trisha Chant. She'll come across the line and get the 5th place in the number 35 5-litre Mustang. So problems for Ian Palmer on the last lap, but a clean sweep of victories for John English over the weekend in that beautiful number 11 Pontiac Firebird. Come back to Sean English and Spencer, they'll be shaking hands and having a good laugh about that battle, because I reckon they both would have enjoyed it.
I think you're right, Mark Spencer probably having his own issues in the car, maybe not pushing quite as hard as what we saw Sean English there, who was pretty keen to try and catch up to the 2 in front. And here's your results for the final race of the Australian Trans Am here this weekend. John English will take the win over John Prefontaine, who will come runner-up in the Mustang. Sean English drops back to 3rd position. And Mark Spencer in 4th. Trisha Chan will round out in 5th position. And Ian Palmer, unfortunately, not finishing the race there in the Pontiac Trans Am Firebird. So we saw him pulled over just on the entry to turn number 11. So that's very unfortunate for him. He's had a good weekend out there and really getting around in that beautiful orange Pontiac, but we'll wait and find out. Morgan Park Raceway has been some fantastic racing so far this weekend. We're in the final day, day number 3 of competition for the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series, and have a look at the pits. They are full with race cars. Over 130 competitors here this weekend. But let's have a look at some of the Hi-Tec Oil's highlights of the Australian Trans Am race number 4.
For me, the highlight is just watching these cars. And look, I'd love to see a few more cars out there, and I know there's a few more coming and some new cars getting built, but the highlight for me is just basking in the glory of these just wonderful, wonderful examples of motor racing machinery. No one's really had anything for Johnny English all over the weekend. The flame-throwing antics of the Prefontaine Mustang have been a highlight, and he had a good run here up the inside of a very, very sideways Sean English. John wasn't alone, as he was having his own sideways moments. Sideways and Australian Trans Am just go together like
Slideways?
Cheese and
Is
cream.
that what we call it? Slideways Australian Trans Am Series. Big brake lock up from Sean English. So several of those, and that's really got to put a flat spot on that tyre. But Johnny English, start to finish, dominant. He moved over really early on Sean English, his son, didn't he? Closed that door down, making sure Dad was dominant once again. And have a look at all the configurations here at Morgan Park Raceway. There are so many of them. How they can change the track around for different series, different competitors that come here, whether you're on bikes or whether you want to come in small cars, big cars, whatever it is, even the drifting they've had here recently as well. So it's a great facility out here in Warwick. Of course, a drag strip in the background as well. You can see that getting prepared. They'll have some racing coming up later in the weekend. Or later in the year, I should say, for Warwick drag racing there. And
They've just laying a new surface there. They've actually spent quite a bit of money over on the drag strip. So for events like drag challenges and things like that, that's a lot of anticipation for that track coming back online. Steve, down to the pits with our victorious drivers from Australian Trans Am.
Thanks, Jamie. I have Sean English here, finishing third in the final race of Australian Trans Am. Fantastic effort. Well done. Great battle towards the race there or through the race. Fantastic weekend for you.
Yeah, no, it was good. Good to have a good battle with all the guys for the last race. Tyres were going off by the fourth race of the weekend. But I'd just like to thank Davcat Heavy Haulage and Performance Tower Hire, all the support. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. So, yeah.
Well done. Congratulations. We'll see you the next time for Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. John Prefontaine was second place. So second, I think, for this weekend, John. The boys have been busy up the front. The English boys have been up the front pretty busy this weekend, but certainly a great second place.
Yeah, mate, that was a really good race. Credit where it's due to the English family. I was definitely in an English sandwich there. Sean, just fantastic driver. I don't know how he does it. He's like a bloody drifter. Everywhere he goes, he's sideways, and I think his tyres might have had enough there. That's the only reason I was able to get around him. So, and credit to this man. He's been a while out of the car, so it's great to see him, and it's one of my old man's best friends, so it's great to be behind him, chasing him around. Such a legend.
Good on you. Thanks, John. And over to John English. G'day, John. How are you? Fantastic effort. Clean sweep this weekend. How good?
Yeah, just lucky, I guess.
I think you've done a few miles around the traps there, here and there, so pretty nice to be back in a race car and pretty good to be here at Morgan Park.
It is, mate. It's lovely to be back here, apart from the cold mornings. But to get back in this old girl after a couple of years out, managed to get it back, and here we are again. So, loving it. Absolutely loving it.
Well done. No worries. Thanks, John, and thanks for your participation. We'll see you at the next one.
You sure will. Thank you.
Race winner in the Australian Trans Am, Johnny. He's even broken a sweat. He just looks so cool, calm and collected after that race.
Yeah, motor racing drivers can never retire, is the old adage out of that deal. But yeah, very, very cool cars. What a cool category. And yeah, Johnny English is definitely a bit of a legend in Australian motor racing. There's not a lot that he hasn't driven. Look at this shot overlooking Morgan Park Raceway.
Yeah, of course, we do go live on SBS from 1 p.m. this afternoon, as well as KO and Fox Sports from Morgan Park Raceway. It's round number 4 of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series, and we kick things off at 1 p.m. with the TA2 muscle cars, framed by Hi-Tec Steel Framing. So make sure you go and grab a break and join us from 1 p.m. live on SBS, Fox and KO.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0.
In my ears.
He wants more.
You're not talking to me, Andy.
Andy's not talking to me.